Alright, I hope everything's working. Is everything working? As normal. Let's see. Think we're good on that front. Let me just double check for stream settings. Alright, good connection. No dropped frames. Is chat working? I believe chat is working. Hello! Yes, it is. Hello, Micah. Hello, Poop. Good to see you both. Oh, it's been a while. Well, I mean, since I last did a stream like this, not necessarily a stream in general, because we did the one a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it came out not last Tuesday, the Tuesday before. Hey, Pastry. Hello, Sin. Hi, Julia. Hello, everyone. Good to have you here. I started a bit earlier. I didn't realize I set the stream schedule for 2 PM. I meant to set it for 1 PM. That was my mistake. And I've started a little bit earlier, just because, you know, it gives people a chance to join in, you know, helps me figure out any technical issues, and we're all good. Hi, Dex, currently in session. Oh, good for you, mate. Enjoy your game. Sorry, Mix, you had to get up so early, but I'm afraid time zones be time zones. Morning, John. Morning, Alvin, or is it afternoon? Morning? Wherever it is in the world for you. Phantom, Sideswipe, good to have you here, everyone. Gosh, I'm not used to streaming. I never know how to start these things, but here we are. We're going to be doing another community build stream. Haven't done one in a long time, not since the deity build streams concluded, but with patch 8, we're actually going to get it done properly now. We've got new toys to work with, new inspiration in the form of Warlock patrons. I think we're going to have a fun time with it. What's on the agenda? Yeah, so basically, my plan is to start the patron build series. We're going to start with 2 of the most popular kind of Warlock patrons, Vecna and the Raven Queen, 2 of the most recognized. And then I plan to stream for about 3 hours, as by the time 4 PM rolls around, I do have something I need to do. But otherwise, we should have enough time to get those 2 deities done in great detail. Patrons. I'm going to have to change my thinking on that one. And then hopefully, if we have enough time, we can start looking into another one. Hello, Eclipse, Ilya, Mine, Gothic. Gosh, everybody's here today. Roy. 1 PM this morning, in my opinion. Yeah, you know how it is, time zones. Anyways, let me just double check everything is still working. I've kind of got my eyes on OBS right now, because OBS is being temperamental as hell at the moment. Half of my shit didn't work, so I've had to, like, go back and look through it again and just make sure everything is working properly. Like, chat wasn't loading, like, the audio wasn't working, it wouldn't even show, like, the window. I don't know what was going on. OBS hated me as I was trying to get this set up. Are we including module bosses in this series, like Strahd? If they work as a reasonable Warlock patron, I see absolutely no reason not to. I don't know exactly if this series is going to have a definitive end, because obviously, like, the deity build series, we had a list of deities that were in the game that we could work off of, whereas this is obviously a lot more open. So as far as I'm concerned, maybe we'll break it up into, like, seasonal blocks, where, like, maybe we'll do 12 episodes or something. Like, we'll have 12 patron builds, take a little bit of a break, maybe do something else, then come back to it. I don't know how any of this is going to work yet. We're just going to see how this goes. Hadar is a must at some point in the series. Absolutely. Hadar would probably be high on the priority list for sure. How Galaxy Bar and Dr. Pepper. Well, I mean, hell, that works. Good, everyone. Hi, Luis. Hi, Beastie. Hi, Boko. Gosh, I'm seeing a lot of familiar names today. This is always lovely to see. Right. We'll give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. So is a Warlock level a must for a patron build? Not necessarily. Because the reason we took Cleric dips is because of the dialogue options that could come with it. And obviously Clerics are directly tied to, you know, their domains, right? And as such, so are the deities. So it made sense to include the levels of Cleric there. I'm not going to say that we are restricted to always have Warlock levels here. Obviously, in a lot of cases, it makes sense. I'm pretty sure the Raven Queen, from the little bit of reading I've already done, is related to the Shadowfell. Hexblade related to the Shadowfell, so I think that makes sense for that to be a Warlock. But for something like Vecna, if we wanted to focus just on, like, Death Cleric, a necromancer and such like that, just as an example off the top of my head, then we can go for that. We're not restricted to just having warlocks, because there's other ways that patrons can be tied into the power set of a build. Like, for example, in the case of Vecna especially, which we'll be talking about in a minute, is somebody doesn't necessarily have to be a warlock of Vecna. They could just have a claim to the eye or the hand or something. You know, it definitely work. Like, I don't think we're going to be as limited in this series, which I think is going to be nice. By the way, important news, Blood Rager is now on console. Yes, I've seen you guys discussing that on the Discord. I do lurk quite a bit over there, and I mean, I haven't looked at it in detail yet, but once I kind of get back into modding, I'll definitely give it a look. Could an imp be a patron? Depends. That imp becomes powerful enough. Wait, hang on. Oh, what is the name? Oh god, what's the name of Shadowheart's imp from the live play session they did? Oh my god, why is it escaping me? I literally included him in Heart of Avernus. What's his name? No, it wasn't Bilbo. What the fuck was it? Oh, Bing Bong! Thank you, Ilya. Oh, we're going to do a Patreon build for Bing Bong, are we? Hi, Jason. God, that's my brain today. Honestly, I'm already melting. Yeah, no, patrons don't necessarily have to be warlocks. If we think something else fits the character more, then we don't need warlock. The only thing we'd technically be missing would be the warlock dialogue tag, but I don't think that's always necessary. Like, again, if we take this, like, in the kind of, like, the deity build series sense, where we're not deliberately trying to make the actual deities themselves or making, you know, builds related to them, maybe they're the chosen of, it depends. We can choose to include warlock levels where we want, but otherwise, we don't actually need the warlock levels. Hey, Bieber, good to have you here. Paper Pusher, good to see you. God, we got a lot of people here today. So, I don't see a reason to wait any longer. I think we can just get started. Your Vecna knowledge is limited to Dead by Daylight. Honestly, when that chapter got announced, I hadn't played Dead by Daylight in years. Got me to come back to the game for a bit. I still play it every so often, but yeah. But anyways, let's have a look at this. So, obviously, we've got the wiki in front of us here. If you want to follow along, I will be flying around the wiki quite a bit, and we will also be using the Forgotten Realms wiki to help us, you know, gather the lore. As you know, it's surprisingly, despite being a fandom wiki, a pretty decent curated resource. So I think this is going to be a fun time. I think we can get started with Vecna, because that's kind of the one I personally want to do the most. So, isn't the Raven Queen a deity? Yeah. We can certainly find out. Yeah, she is. She is a deity in a similar sense, but she is associated with other things, so it can technically count. But honestly, I see her more as a patron personally, but that's just me. Again, it's all down to interpretation in a way. But yes, why don't we get started with Vecna? I don't see any reason to, like, delay any further. I know it's a slightly early start, but it's basically 1 PM for me, so we can go for it. What's the difference between a Celestial Warlock and a Cleric? Okay, so, are you talking about lore-wise? Because obviously there's a big mechanical difference because they're different classes, but lore-wise, they're basically, like, okay, so, Warlocks are about deals. Again, this brings up the whole Cleric-Warlock difference thing. Basically, a Cleric is like you're actively praying to a deity to get their power, whereas a Warlock, you made a pact with a Celestial being to get that power. There's a difference there just in how it's obtained, basically. Vecna was also a deity at one point, yes. I know we're definitely blurring the lines a bit because his domains are Arcana, Death, and Knowledge. But again, it's just a different thing, alright? Technically anything can be a deity if it's worshipped enough. Just saying. Oh my god. Don't forget the toenail of Vecna, Jesus. Right, anyways. So, Vecna was a once human king and a lich from... Fucking, how do you pronounce that? Earth? If that's actually pronounced Earth, I swear to God. Hang on. Pronounced Earth. Yeah, Earth. Oth? Oith? Oh, I don't fucking know. Anyways, he's from Earth. Who just here for you because you enjoy theory crafting? Oh, I appreciate it. But yeah. So basically, he was from Earth who ascended to godhood, and while he was once considered the most powerful lich to dwell in that world, over the ages he spent in undeath, Vecna became maligned across the multiverse and was considered the scourge of all civilization. So here's the thing. The reason why I have kind of a personal kind of thing with wanting to do Vecna first, like a bit of an investment, is because I've actually played a Warlock of Vecna in a campaign run by my friend Golden. And in that campaign, it was kind of meant to be like a high level, you know, type thing where you are the chosen of certain people. And I actually had the hand of Vecna off the bat. And it was a very interesting thing. In the end, it was a bit of a comical thing as well. In the end, like, we kind of had like a homebrewed backstory for him where before he was Vecna, he was known as Vance. So we all just started calling him Vance. So, I don't know. It's just a fun thing, but like, that's kind of why I wanted to do this. But anyways, evil is not an absence of good. It is not a choice. Evil is one of the two forces in the cosmos, an agency locked in an eternal struggle against its antithesis. Only good and evil exist, and not even a hair's width of space separates them. That's an interesting quote. But anyways, moving on. So basically, Vecna himself, there's a lot of history here, there's worshippers, there's all sorts of things we can pull from. But as far as, you know, actual mechanical stuff, we can also take inspiration from his actual items as well to see if we can pull anything from this, even though the power set of this is a bit higher than obviously what BG3 would normally allow. We can have a look at this for inspiration as well. So yeah, let's actually keep reading. So, as a deity, Vecna appeared as a decrepit lich, missing his left hand and left eye. Gee, I wonder why. What origin build am I uploading next? Hi, Jack. Karlak. Karlak will be out tomorrow. Just got to finalize a few details on the video, and then it'll be out. Right. According to some, Vecna had an obsession with acquiring and maintaining secrets, believing them to be the source of true power. He was precise and calculating in his actions, but at times was prone to bouts of intense rage. Interesting. Vecna believed that every being in existence had a single secret that could be manipulated to bring about its destruction. Uncovering that secret and exploiting its truth were the key to gaining dominion over others. That's very interesting. That almost immediately makes me think of like using Cleric in some way, because obviously Death Cleric already exists, but clerics have ways of like manipulating social situations through things like guidance and such like that. That automatically makes me think of using the lower level like abilities of Cleric to kind of further that goal. Oh yeah, I know. Hang on, 1 second. I know 5e tools. Give me a second. I just pulled that up quickly as a reference. Hang on. Ta-da! Then we could do hand of... If I could actually type. Yeah, hand of Vecna. There we go. This is from the 2024 version, but we can read this as well if we need to. So yeah, apologies about that. I was just the quickest resource I pulled up. But thank you, Gray, for pointing that out. Good to see you, by the way. Definitely getting a certain eye taken out in Act 1 for this build. Absolutely. Getting the Volo's eye would actually make a lot of sense, because I think one of the abilities as well is actually True Sight. So that would make sense to be able to see invisible people. So yeah, that's basically a requirement on this build. Missing his left hand, left-handed cleric build? Maybe. Yeah, that is actually a possibility. We'll have to have a look. But basically, yeah, so I'm interested in playing off of this aspect as well, from his own personality, but we'll see. As a deity, Vecna did not claim a domain, but instead wandered the entire multiverse. He maintained the Citadel of Cavidius, I hope I pronounced that correctly, originally on the quasi-elemental plane of Ash. But they do have some names for these places, don't they? Near the border of the negative energy plane, which had been wrested away from the Doom Guard long before. It's a Doom Guard. We'll have to read about that later. The Citadel was used by Vecna as his fortress, which he visited regularly to gloat on the despair of his defeated enemies, and later it became his prison as he was drawn into the domains of dread by the Dark Powers. He also kept a hidden black tower within a plane of pandemonium. Interesting. Left-handed spell punch mark. Yeah, this is where it gets, like, tricky, because there's so many different ways it can be interpreted, which is why I wanted to use the actual mechanical stuff that is given to players as a basis for an idea. You know what I mean? That's why we're here. Yeah, probably. That's right, Mine. Well, now that I think about it, Cleric and Necromancer are definitely more accurate. Yeah. It's almost like we're trying to make, like, a demi-lich or something. Like one of those lower-tier level liches. We could try. Alright, here we go. Actual explicit powers. Here we go. Vecna possessed a number of tremendous powers, including the ability to paralyze others with his touch. Okay, we can definitely get that. Inherently cast a variety of powerful spells. Well, that's just obvious. And alter reality at will. Yeah, okay. Obviously, this might be a bit too high. We're not exactly getting the wish spell here. But obviously, we can make this a primary spellcaster, because I think that makes sense. Being able to paralyze people would make sense. He was immune to disease. I mean, Paladin levels would technically get that, but we could also grab protection from poison or something to kind of get the same effect. Disintegration. Okay. Yeah, disintegration is a theme across Vecna, because if you will look here, we also get it as part of the Eye of Vecna spell list, as well as Eye Bite, Dominate Monster, Crown of Madness, and Clairvoyance. Obviously, we're not going to get Clairvoyance, but we can get that from the Eye of Volo anyway. It's basically See Invisibility. So that's from the Eye spell list. The Hand spell list is Finger of Death, Sleep, Slow, and Teleport. So, obviously, we're not going to get Teleport, but we can get the or Finger of Death, but we can certainly get Sleep and Slow. Oh, there's so many different ways we could do this. And obviously there's this. You get, like, necrotic resistance and all that shit. And Wish. You do technically... We get immunity to poison. So we might have to find a way to get some sort of poison resistance on this build, which already makes sense anyway. I definitely think we're looking at a primary caster here. I think you're right, Ilya, for sure. Is there a ring? Oh, you're thinking of the amulet. That basically means that when you get a critical hit on a humanoid, you can paralyze them. But there are other ways of doing it. Again, we can explore that in further detail afterwards. So here we go. Let's keep reading. He was immune to disease, disintegration, mind-controlling powers, and a variety of other debilitating effects. His sense... So we might want to maybe throw the Fey Semblance Amulet here for, like, the advantage on the saving throws? I'm not sure. His sensory perception extended far beyond that of mortal beings, up to a range of 10 miles, or 16 kilometers for people who use actual measurements. I live in the UK, we use miles, I can't complain, and could similarly perceive anything within the same range as any of his worshippers. Bloody hell, so this man could say, oh yeah, you like me? Show me your eyes, let me see through you. Anywhere, that's crazy. So that could mean that with this build, Vecna is constantly watching us all of the time and seeing what we see, directly influencing the events of the game. That's actually a cool roleplay thing. I like that. He could also feel whenever someone uncovered, disclosed, or otherwise wrote down any secret that contained information that could affect the lives of 500 people or more. This motherfucker would have known the Absolute's plan immediately. That is a motivator to even play the game, to even get started in the story. That's actually really cool right off the bat. I'm not even gonna lie, that is an incredibly interesting motivator. Huh. Maybe he has some sort of like self-satisfying reason to like intervene in the events of what happens in the game. Maybe he wants to stop the Absolute for some reason. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with the Mind Flayer chicanery. Who knows? That's really interesting. I want to explore that a little bit. So this build either has every tadpole or 8 none. Yeah, that's the other thing. It depends on how much of the tadpole's ability set we think could actually benefit getting the abilities that we want for the build. Otherwise, I would say from a roleplay perspective, I would say this is an anti-tadpole build. Like, it's Vecna or nothing, baby. That's just it. Pissing off Bane, yeah. Oh, man. Just walk up to Goatash and whisper, I know what you did. I know your secrets. Oh, God. Maybe Lorebard? Maybe Eclipse. Maybe. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I feel like we've got a lot of different things that could all work, and we'll have to kind of decide as we go. So, Vecna himself carried with him a +5 unholy dagger named Afterthought. He had braces of armor, powerful click of resistance. I mean, this is all just kind of high-level items, which we can try to replicate to some extent, but it's probably not like a huge thing we need to focus on. But anyways, while not among his possessions per se, there existed 2 powerful artifacts. Yep, we know about that. The Iron Hand, and all that. Let's have a look. For the one, there existed 2 powerful artifacts in multiverse due to their power from this on their body, the eye, and his left hand. For those who sought these artifacts, accessing their power required vicious acts of self-mutilation, either by gouging out one's own eye or forcibly removing one's left hand. Over the years, Vecna's hand came into the possession of Archon the Cruel, Lieutenant of Tiamat, and while his eye was rumoured to belong to Emerico, interesting, the Planewalker, both of whom spent significant time on Avernus. So that's an interesting link, maybe to Raphael as well. Even items Vecna wore as immortal, such as a set of his robes, absorbed tremendous magical power from the undead lord and bestowed a fraction upon its future wearers. Interesting. Okay. Interesting stuff to work with here, maybe. Vecna, to his own accounts, his mortal mother was a whole evil woman who sacrificed animals and assorted monstrous beings. Here we go. Enemies. Vecna was obsessed with taking revenge on his vampire Lieutenant Kaz for the legendary betrayal he committed. The Whispered One was a sworn enemy of the Raven Queen, who he envied for her unique abilities to tap into the flow of souls and to harvest knowledge. One of his goals was to overthrow the Queen and the ruler of the entire Shadowfell from her Fortress of Memories. His servants constantly battled with the Raven Queen's Shadowkai followers. So that's kind of funny that we might actually be able to make two builds that, like, would oppose each other. But anyways. Worshippers. Here we go. This is what I want to read. So, the cult of Vecna teaches that Vecna was cursed by gods who were jealous of his power. Vecna confronted his own death and imprisoned it in a castle in the grey sands of an alien world, where it wails in eternal torment. The cult of Vecna acted in secret for much of the Archlich's existence and were emboldened upon his ascension to godhood. They were a wholly evil group that brought in new members via blackmail and coercion. Like their god, these malevolent clerics, there we go, we've already got cleric in there, sought to uncover the lost arcana, especially on the plane of dreams and the Shadowfell, and exploited secret information to accumulate power and gain control over others. Vecna attracted among his worshippers a notable number of Kenkus, half-fiends, and even some Nyoji? Okay. Some mortally corrupt practitioners of psionics also offered their veneration to Vecna. That could be an interesting thing to, like, work on as well, maybe. Hi, Sylph. Yeah, don't feel like you have to stay for long, but just thanks for coming by at all. Death Cleric for sure. Yeah. I think I'm already starting to think that the obvious choice of Death Cleric Necromancy Wizard is probably looking more and more promising, because then, even though we're multiclassing with two full casters and can make use of scrolls, so we get the high-level spells like Disintegrate as well, I can't really see a downside to that, but who knows, we could be swayed in a different way. Yeah, Great Old One vibe, a little bit, but I don't know, that's a little bit more Cthulhian than I think Vecna actually is. I don't know how to explain it. Again, I play a lot of Call of Cthulhu, like, basically, I think Vecna would have active influence over the character and be aware of their presence, whereas something like a Great Old One just fucking doesn't even know you exist, yet you still absorb power from it passively, right? I think Death Cleric is official. Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. I know there could be a few things, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe we're kind of like using a bit of recency bias here. Maybe we're immediately locked onto Death Cleric because it's the new thing. But who knows? We'll have to see. Mortal Life, Rise to Power, Death and Ascension. Yeah, this is all kind of the history stuff that most of us, I think, already know. And his early life was clouded in legend and contradiction. Most accounts stated he was originally a human wizard from Earth, who, although some reports claimed that he was a half-elf. After having become an extremely powerful wizard, Vecna began to fear his own mortality. An obsession, some say, was triggered by the death of his mother. See, again, Vecna being a wizard originally also makes me think that the wizard levels work, because we could almost make this character unknowingly following the same steps as Vecna in their journey, and basically becoming him in their own way without realizing over time, right? That is that influence. Shadow Soul? Maybe? But in my personal opinion, I don't see what the Shadow Sorcerer abilities really offer to this build from a lore perspective, right? Unless Vecna has some sort of Shadowhound that I'm not aware of. And I don't think even the Hand and Eye of Vecna really focus on darkness at all. Yeah, no, they don't. So, personally, I don't think Shadow Sorcerer is right for this build. When we get to the Raven Queen, probably, but not yet. One theory states that Vecna was taught by Orcus how to achieve undeath, eventually leading to his becoming one of the most powerful liches in existence. Another spoke of Vecna experimenting upon hundreds of innocent mortals to formulate a ritual to absorb power from the various planes of existence, and channel it into his own decrepit body. And while a third put forth the idea of that the mortal Vecna learned the secrets of lichdom from being known as the Serpent, believed to have been a personification of magic itself. Regardless of how it began, Vecna's path to becoming a lich was said to be one of the first instances of a mortal possessing the willpower to sacrifice their own body for such a feat. I don't know why, but while I was reading that, I just had a thought of the character's motivations here. So, this character that we make, obviously, given power by Vecna in some shape or form, is being influenced by Vecna throughout the entire campaign. What if it's not to, like, stop the Absolute, but to take it over, right? We go for the evil ending where we usurp the Absolute, basically putting all of the Mind Flayers and, you know, the Neverbrain and such like that under Vecna's control to lead to, like, a new age of his rise to power or something. Like, that could be really friggin' interesting. Not only does it stop a potential threat to Vecna that could arise if left unchecked, it also gives him a powerful new weapon to use. I think that makes sense. What is a Lich exactly? Basically a Lich is somebody who goes through a very rigorous magical ritual and process involving a lot of death to basically make themselves immortal by placing their soul into a phylactery, which is basically like a jar you pop on your shelf that as long as that doesn't break and doesn't get destroyed, you will just keep coming back again and again and again. You'll live forever, you'll never die. It does come with the fact that you need a pretty rigorous skincare routine, like you really got to get that Nivea on your skin pretty much all the time just to make it so you don't look like a shriveled grape. But otherwise, it's basically just doing a really complex magic ritual to turn yourself into an immortal being, and eventually ascend to godhood if you're like Vecna. Hi, Snazzy! How's it going? Pretty good. Happy to be back to streaming. Yeah, Pointy Hat has an amazing video on Liches. That's basically where I just pulled that information from verbatim, so go watch him. How a Hungry Gale build? I don't know if this really fits Gale personally. I think this build would come to odds with Gale quite a lot, and I think that would actually be very, very interesting as a dynamic. Something along the lines of the PC becoming Vecna's new vessel to rule with? Yeah, maybe something along those lines. But again, I love how, like, maybe we have this pawn of Vecna who he basically designs to take over and rule the Absolute, and he basically controls. I think that's really cool. So, rise to power. In one of his earliest battles, Vecna was nearly destroyed by clerics of the Earthian god Pelor, but was spared annihilation by one of his most trusted lieutenants and former apprentice, the half-demon called Acererak. In truth, Acererak arranged for Vecna to be ambushed in order to gain favor with his master and position himself closer to Vecna's most treasured secrets. After Vecna became aware of Acerak's treachery, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. No, Acererak. Yeah, Acererak. Yeah, I think I got that right. He vowed to never let his esoteric knowledge be compromised again. Vecna's seal for secrecy and ever-growing power led him to being worshipped as something as a god, even before any form of ascension. From amongst his most fervent devotees arose the heartless paladin named Cass. Yes, I do know about Cass. Because there's, you know, the Blade of Cass and such like that, which was eventually used to beat Vecna's ass. Oh, there it is, the Sword of Cass. Over time, Vecna conquered a vast expanse northwest of the Azure Sea on Earth, forming an occluded empire. During his reign, Vecna trusted his lieutenant Cass with the most administrative tasks, using necromantic magic to grant him unnatural longevity as a vampire, and forging the powerful Sword of Cass as an instrument of authority. So, interestingly, right there's precedent for Vecna creating people under his command and giving them long life. I mean, I almost see that being an Astarion origin build then at that point if we really wanted to lead into the vampire aspect, but I don't know. I don't think Astarion would be down for that. I think his whole point of his thing is that he doesn't want to be controlled anymore. But I think making him a pawn of Vecna just kind of goes against his character arc in a way. Don't get me wrong, the Ascendant Vampire route might go down that way, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how we feel about that one. Dark Urge with Minthara and Hirelings? Maybe, yeah. Hi, Blake. Finally catching a live stream, and it's you two Forgotten Realm deities. Well, I'm glad to have you here, Blake. Thanks for joining the stream. Petty Gale or Disloyal Dirge? I mean, I can see this being a Dirge. Picturing the PC that was almost a manufactured vessel for him to fuse with. Final Fantasy 16. Yes! Yeah, I see. That could be interesting, maybe. Death and Ascension. However, Vecna's evil manifested in the sword and seduced Cass into usurping and killing his master. According to one storyteller, Vecna had accumulated enough collective power and magic to achieve apotheosis by means of a ritual in his rotted tower, but Cass interrupted the ritual and attacked his master, the two engaging in a tremendous battle. In the end, Vecna gained the upper hand, pun intended I'm sure, but just as the Lich moved to slay his former servant, Cass cut off his hand and plunged his sword into Vecna's eye. That's how the eye and existed, for those of you who don't know. And finally, a massive explosion destroyed the tower and shook the surrounding lands, and according to others, Vecna banished Cass to the realm of Cavidius, but not in time to avoid his own destruction. Regardless of the exact specifics, the only traces left of Vecna's physical body were his left hand and eye, which still carried a fragment of the Lich's will, and their latent power turned them into artifacts known as the Hand and Eye of Vecna. His spirit endured, however, languishing across the plains to slowly gather power from the surviving members of his cult, and his name continued to instill fear in mortals, and it was said that, through his eponymous artifacts, his evil continued corrupting others, small pieces of his weathered remains scattered across existence, corrupting anyone who they came into contact with. So I see now where people are saying, literally, Vecna's influence creating the next Vecna, a body for him to inhabit. That I actually see now, and honestly, I think that makes sense. Like, that being the end goal. I kind of like that from a lore perspective. Are we using mods for this or no? No, I think in a similar vein to the Deity Build series, I want to kind of keep this mostly vanilla. I believe that's what the community voted on a while back as well. And we're still in the honeymoon period of patch 8, where I don't think mods are necessary yet. But if we do come across some stuff later on that we think can benefit from other official 5e subclasses that are modded into the game, then maybe. But not yet, I would say. Well, didn't it say that Vecna sacrificed a lot of souls in the Ascension ritual? That is true, I believe. Yes, Mira, that is correct. God, maybe Astarion is right. And maybe it's, like, meant to be that kind of sad tale of, like, he can never really escape being controlled because that's just Astarion at his core, a pawn in someone else's plan. Fuck, actually, that's good, isn't it? Shit, that's good! Are we going to have to make this an Astarion build, guys? I'm wondering if we do. This music is surprisingly intense. Can we turn that down a little bit? Oh, fucking hell. That could be good. So I just thought I'd listen to Sonic music today because it's a bit different. No? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of strange. I'm kind of like on the fence. Like, there's parts of him that I feel like if you're looking at an Astarion who you actually want to see redeemed, obviously it's a sad story, and obviously some people probably think it doesn't fit. But at the same time, there's a lot of parallels that make sense. I don't know. Probably not Astarion. I'm not sure. The more I think about it, like, yes, I can see how it'd work, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe we'll continue reading and something else will come up. Let's see. After several centuries, Vecna amassed sufficient followers and worshippers among ambitious wizards to reach the status of demigod, and was accepted amongst the most corrupt powers of the Astral Sea. Failing him, he transformed his most powerful lieutenants into the first undead monstrosities known as Skull Lords. I'm going to look at that in a minute. At this point, many, including Elminster, were aware of the threat of Vecna's ascension. Again, another interesting tie into the actual narrative of Baldur's Gate, perhaps some sort of Elminster intervention. After a failed attempt to ascend to the full deity status, Vecna himself was banished to Cavitis, and then, yeah, the rest we already know. Right. Vecna dies again. Sometime later, Vecna once again attempted to ascend to the status of a greater deity by organising a centuries-long plot culminating in his absorbing of the essence of a demigod Luz, and also invading Sigil, from where he could exert control over the entire multiverse. I'm going to cough, excuse me. Anyways, Vecna invaded the City of Doors, becoming the only deity in existence that successfully breached Sigil's defenses and caused a great disturbance in the multiverse, but was once again thwarted by adventurers and expelled from Sigil with the assistance of the Lady of Pain. Which, oh, okay, that's interesting. He had his essence separated from Luz, but managed to retain the power of a lesser deity. Following Vecna's defeat, the Lady of Pain strengthened Sigil's defenses and reorganized the planar structure in order to repair the damage caused and prevent such an event from ever happening again. And then, of course, at some point, he time travels. But yeah. At that point, we're kind of just into, like, general rumors and such like that, so I'm probably not going to focus too much on that. But okay. So basically, let's lay out the lore stuff of what we have so far for good old Vance here, right? So, we know that basically the character that we're going to be trying to make is going to be influenced by Vecna somehow. Maybe they were originally a worshipper of his that has now kind of taken the eye of whatever form Vecna still has, and like has basically just kind of been chosen to be his like successor, right? Taking the kind of rise of the Absolute as an opportunity, Vecna influences this individual, giving them power in order for them to basically eventually usurp the Absolute, gain control over the Neverbrain, a very, very powerful army, basically, as well as an incredible psychic force, and eventually this person would rise enough in power, becoming that using the Absolute's many cultists under their control to ascend to a lich themselves, in which case Vecna will take them over, reclaiming his hand and eye, and then becoming fully powered once again. And it makes sense. Like, I could see that kind of being the overall narrative of the character. Hi, Royal Skiff. Hi, man. Thanks for your lore builds. Having fun with patch 8 ones. I've expected... yeah, there's going to be a good Shadowheart one as well. I got the Karlach one, the Dirge one, and then I'm going to go back and do an alternative Shadowheart one, because I've got a really interesting idea for a good-sided Shadowheart build that I don't think anybody else will expect. Well, there's one element of it that I think people will expect, and that is Stars Druid is going to be involved. But there's another half to it that I don't think people are going to expect. So I'm looking forward to doing that one. That'll be after the core Origin builds are done, so Karlach and Dirge next. Yeah. Clone backup insurance policy? Yeah, in a way. Tiefling successor since he was banished to the Abyss? Maybe. Yeah, Pastry, you're right. Well, obviously we're using the Eye of Volo as a stand-in mechanically for the Eye of Vecna, like visually, as well as giving us DC invisibility passive all the time, which makes sense for the Eye. But I would say, like, do we just kind of want to just let me know in the chat if we're kind of happy with this overall idea? And then we can move on to the mechanical aspect of it. Karlach Giant Barbarian is base? Well, yeah, see, we're going to play with the new toys, aren't we? No, use the Haggai. Oh! The Haggai. Give me a second. +1 to intimidation bonus checks, but disadvantage on perception checks. I don't think that makes sense for the Eye of Vecna at all. Like, the whole point is that you can't really... Like, the whole point of that is that Volo's Eye fits better because it gives you see invisibility, which is like the clairvoyance actually provided by the Eye of Vecna. There's no... I don't think the Haggai makes sense. Like, obviously, visually it would probably look closer to the Eye of Vecna, but Volo's Eye, mechanically, makes more sense. Hi, Steve! Good to have you here. Thanks for joining. The Haggai fits better for the Daughters of Sorakel. Oh, I'll have to look at that at some point. Yeah, Haggai is still your eye. Imagine you could have both. If I could have both, I would have both. But I think that disadvantage on perception checks is the antithesis of what we're going for here. So personally, nah. But yeah, I think we got enough lore stuff with Vecna to understand where we want to go with this. I think the narrative is interesting, and I think the kind of rule set, if we go with that rule set, we'll be able to create an interesting power set mechanically. So now, just got to figure out the equipment, class, and stats. Pretty simple. I do actually, though, want to look at the Hand and Eye of Vecna. Oh, what have I just done? Whoops. Sometimes this is a little bit difficult to navigate this website, but we'll see. So let's have a look at the Hand and Eye of Vecna as items as a reference for what we might want to achieve mechanically. What kind of split are you thinking? We'll decide when we have a look at the classes ourselves. So, first up, we have the Hand and Eye of Vecna. They can be used separately, but obviously this just encompasses all of their abilities together. So let's have a look. Vecna was a mighty wizard, yada yada yada, we all know this. The Eye of Vecna and the Hand of Vecna are separate artifacts that might be found together or separately. The eye looks like a bloodshot organ torn from free of the socket, and the hand looks like a shriveled left extremity. Okay, easy peasy. I could almost see us trying, fashion-wise, to get like a gauntlet over our left hand to try to hide the fact that we have the left hand in a way. That could be fun. The Eye and Vecna, yeah, they get like the random properties. Here we go. Properties of the Eye. While you are tuned to the Eye, your alignment is neutral evil, and you gain the following benefits. You have True Sight out to 240 feet. Obviously, we can't get True Sight in the game. What we can do, though, is we can get invulnerability to blindness, which we want. Let me get my document out. Let me get my document out so that I know exactly what we're working towards. I'm going to create a brand new document. And this one is going to be Patron builds. There we go. Vecna. But you guys won't be able to see me typing this away. That's good, because I can't spell for shit, apparently. Vecna. Goals. We want to be C invis. We want to be immune to blindness. Which is very easy to do. Fucking Eversight ring. What else do we want from this? Give me a second. True sight. What else does true sight give you? Visual illusions appear transparent to you. You automatically succeed on saving throws against them. You discern the true form of any creature, and you can see into the ethereal plane. I don't think the transformation and the ethereal plane ones are extremely relevant, but visual illusions, we're definitely going to want advantage on saving throws of some kind to discern illusions. So probably like advantage on intelligence saves, I guess, which we can get. So I'm going to get like good saving throws as a goal in this build as well. I feel like a refresher on neutral evil is in order. Alignment isn't huge, really, obviously, in Baldur's Gate compared... And it's not even really a big deal in tabletop anymore. It's literally just, like, an archaic thing from the old editions that people use as a meme format nowadays. High perception? Absolutely, we want high perception for sure. I'm going to pop that in there. That's definitely going to be a thing. But that'll come naturally with the other stuff as well. Basically, yeah, through the Eye of Vecna, we're also going to get these spells. Clairvoyance, again... we can't really get that, but it does, let's see, so, oh my goodness, my voice is going, excuse me. Yeah, so obviously we don't get clairvoyance, but you create an invisible sensor within range and a location familiar to you. Basically, it's like leaving a camera. We don't really need to focus on that one. But Crown of Madness, we can obviously get. Disintegrate, we can obviously get. Dominate Monster and Eyebite, we can get all of these in a single build, I think. Excuse me, sorry. I think we will, especially if we're going to go for a multi-classed wizard. We're going to be relying on spell scrolls kind of heavily, but in my opinion, I always like that in a wizard build. Like, it just adds another element of, like, mechanical depth to the playthrough. Personally, I survival so you can see dirt. Okay, that is funny. Yes, the floor is made out of floor. Injured to undeath, not super appealing? Oh, we'll have to see, but anyways. Right, X-ray vision. You can take a magic action to gain X-ray vision within feed for you. Solid objects, yeah, we're obviously not really going to be able to get X-ray vision, unfortunately, but maybe we can get something similar. So we definitely want these spells. I'm going to copy and paste them into my goals section of my document. There we go. So we can take clairvoyance out of that. So we want Crown of Madness, Disintegrate, Dominate Monster, and Eyebite. All of that. Oh, well, we can't get Dominate Monster though, but we can get Dominate Person. So we can get Dominate Person. That we can get. So we'll definitely be grabbing Dominate Person. Again, that's a cloak. If we need to really go drastic on it. But with the leveling scheme that I'm thinking of, we should be able to get this all anyway. Let's have a look. Right, properties of the hand. While you attune to the hand, neutral evil, blah, 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 and you gain the following benefits. Your strength becomes 20 unless it is already 20 or higher. That's somewhat tricky. And is it overall necessary? I mean, potions of giant strength, I guess. Gauntlets of giant strength, I guess. Maybe. But depending on the build we go for, what benefit do we get from 20 strength? That's the question. Vecna uses a dagger? Yeah, maybe. Collecting knowledge through scrolls is thematic as well? Yes, I agree. That's why I always like wizard builds for that specific aspect. Just having the ability to learn spells through scrolls, and it gives you a goal to work out. Like, I love builds that come with side quests, right? That's why I love Divination Wizard for Portent. Like, that is just a built-in side quest as part of your class, which I love. And the whole spell scroll hunting thing, that's why I love the alchemy system and making builds surrounding alchemy. Hence my recent Gale build. So that sort of thing I do quite like. My voice is actually going to go. This is ridiculous. Every time I want to stream, my voice... Tavern Brawler Death Cleric? I don't know. We'll see. I think that's leaning too much into, like, the physical aspect. At the end of the day, we have ways of getting high strength. It's just, do we need to? That is the question. Let's keep going. Icy Touch. Any melee spell attack made with the hand, or any melee attack made with a weapon held by it, deals an extra 2d8 cold damage on hit. Well, 2d8 cold damage we might not be doing, but obviously Drakethroat Glaive buffs exists. Maybe throw on the Snowburst Ring to create like an icy field that the enemies can slip on over. I think we can definitely get cold damage melee attacks on this build. For sure. Somebody suggested earlier a left-handed spell sword. That might have to be what we do. We'll have to see. Right. Spell casting. The hand has 8 charges. Yada yada yada. Right. Finger of Death. Unfortunately, we cannot get that. I think we could supplement this for things like Vampiric Touch and Blight. Basically, just we want big necrotic damage attacks, so we can obviously do that at some point. There's also Slow and Sleep. Obviously, we can get Slow and Sleep. That's pretty easy. Sleep and Slow. Very easy to get. Not even really a challenge. Teleport's tricky, though. Obviously, we can't get, like, full range teleportation. That's obviously not what we can do. But Misty Step can be incorporated into the build very, very easily. And so can Dimension Door. So I'm going to say Misty Step and Dimension Door we want on this build as well. And again, this is all magic stuff, so... Ignoring necrotic resistance would be nice. Yeah, I know. This is where we really have to think about how we want to do this. Dimension Door. I cannot type today. Alright. God damn it, pathetic. Hey, Raiden, what are we building? We're building Vecna. Or a Chosen of Vecna. With a lot of interesting lore implications. But anyways, here's what the hand does. So this is when you have both the eye and the hand, you gain the following properties. You have advantage on initiative rolls. Shit, do we need the alert feat? We don't need the alert feat, do we? I'm going to put that one as a maybe on the document. I'm going to put that one as a maybe. Where? Question mark? Vance and the hand gang. Necrotic Reduction. As a magic action, you can target one creature you can see within 5 feet of yourself. The target makes a DC 18 con save, taking a fuckload of necrotic damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. The creature is reduced 0 hit points. The damage transforms him into a cream slime that covers the ground. I'm just going to have to move chat a second. There we go. Each 5-foot square of slime representing a separate patch. Okay. You have immunity to poison damage. I don't know if we can get immunity. I'm pretty sure we can't because we're not going to be going to level 11 of freaking monk or whatever it is. But we can certainly get resistance. I mean, it's nice. Can't get surprised and +5 initiative, maybe. We get a Bowser build sometime? Maybe sometime in the future. Yeah, many objects give +2 initiative. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Regeneration. If you start your turn with at least 1 hit point, you regain 1d10 hit points. Okay, so passive healing. We can certainly get that onto the build for sure. But I'm definitely feeling our equipment selection thinning out already. And obviously, the fucking Wish spell, which we can't get. We cannot get the Wish spell. I'm not even going to try. The only person who can use Wish in BG3 that actually does in the game is fucking Vlaakith. I don't think we're building Vlaakith today. Ring of Regen plus Periaptive Wound Closure? Maybe, yeah. That would be significant healing on every turn. Right. So we've got the mechanical goal. We've got the backstory for the character. All that's left is to make the build. As always, that's kind of the tricky part. Oh yeah, I was going to look at skulls as well. Hang on. Humanoid appearance, we had 2 extra skulls. That's probably not relevant. Oh, but these guys get Cone of Cold and Ice Storm, so yeah, I mean, there's a nice theming there, but regardless. Anyways. I think now we actually have to... Vlaakith kills you with Wish? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, so... First up, let's think of the actual class distribution. Now, let's just look at what everyone is thinking already right off the bat. Boom, boom. Death Cleric, because obvious, and Necromancy Wizard. Like, I mean, they both make sense. It's just how much levels to take of each, really, right? I mean, there are other things to potentially consider. I know someone said Lore Bard, but I think we've kind of moved away from the whole searching for secrets type thing. I think the lore that we've created for the character has moved beyond that, right? 8/4 Cleric Wiz. Maybe? 6/6? Hexblade plus Oathbreaker? Nah, no, that'll be for Raven Queen or something, probably. So let's actually have a look at Death Cleric real quick. Obviously, we get Martial Weapons Proficiency, which is really useful if we do want to have, like, those cold damage melee attacks. I think that is actually going to be rather important. Necromancy cantrips that only target one creature can target an additional creature. I mean, that alone is worth the 1-level dip. We're going to get Bone Chill, Bursting Sinew, Toll the Dead. That's all very in line with Vecna. False Life, Ray of Sickness, again with the poison thing, all makes sense. Extra necrotic damage on Channel Divinity, yep. Vampiric Touch we'd even get at level 5, and we'd gain the ability to ignore resistance and necrotic damage at level 6. Necromancy doesn't give much for Vecna past level 2. I can kind of see, this is the problem, right? So, obviously, level 2, we get Grim Harvest, which is very, very good for, like, regenning. I think that's super good. I mean, obviously, the anime undead thing does make sense for Vecna, but I feel like at that point you also want to go to level 10 for resistance and necrotic damage, but at that point it feels like it's too far, right? Cold Snap for the left-handed spell sword, yeah, because it's like an ice dagger. Yeah, no, absolutely works. Because obviously Vecna is known for wielding a dagger as well. So, what level split is appropriate? Because obviously, by just taking 1 level or 2 levels in Wizard, we gain access to the spell scrolls, which is what we want. We would just have to build a high wisdom, high intelligence character, which is where it gets tricky, right? Would he use Bursting Sinew if he's got Animate Dead? That's also a good point, Boka, because once you use Bursting Sinew on a corpse, it's too destroyed to use Animate Dead on. 10 Cleric 2 Wiz or 8 Cleric 4 Wiz for 3 feats. Yeah, that's the thing. How many feats do we want on this build? That is the question. Or, are we thinking about this the wrong way? Is there another wizard school that makes more sense? Probably not. I think Necromancy is the most solid with Grim Harvest. I could see arguments for Divination because I'm biased, and obviously that leans into, like, the eyes thing, but I think, like, Future Sight and all that doesn't really fit. So, I mean, it's probably Necromancy, let's be real. Yeah, I was wondering how the stat spread is going to work. Well, the thing is, right, with the stat spread, at the end of the day, we might not have to focus on Wisdom as much, which sounds weird, I know, but hear me out. With the Death Domain, yeah, we get a lot of, like, the, Oh, yeah, but at level 8 gets Divine Strike Necrotic. Like, we get a lot of spells that are, like, about, like, our saving throws, but if we find a way to get, like, Arcane Acuity and stuff, we might be able to focus more on Intelligence, where the majority of our, like, spells that we're trying to get are going to come from. It's going to come from Wizard. What do we need to pick another deity that isn't Vecna if we go Cleric? Yeah, that's the only thing, unfortunately. You're forced to pick a deity, which kind of sucks, I'm not going to lie. We'd be stuck between Kalemvor and Ledwagar, which neither really fit what we're going for here, but we could just ignore the dialogue tags there. We're more here for the powers. And there's always the option to say, like, say Kalemvor, who is actually, like, kind of a... he's a lawful neutral god of the dead. Maybe, like, we start off as, like, a worshipper of Kalemvor, but then slowly become corrupted by Vecna's influence, still thinking we're in service to Kalemvor, but actually it's Vecna. Maybe we're being misled the whole time. That could be how you flavor and go for that, right? Like, all of that can kind of be role-played away in a way. You know what I mean? It's a shame there's no agnostic option for a deity. Yeah, I get what you mean. That could be interesting, yeah. Like, maybe start off thinking we are a cleric of Kalemvor, but then, over time, getting done over by Vecna, basically. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that it's a no-brainer. With Death and Necromancy, it is just the level split and figuring out the stat spread. Death Cleric does get a lot of cool necro spells in it anyway, so maybe lower int. Dethrone has a fixed DC, by the way. Yeah, Dethrone is probably something we're also going to want to get just because it feels thematically accurate. Why not Warlock 6 plus Death Cleric 6 and maximize Bone Chill Cantrip with Portent? Hi, Barger. Basically, the reason why, like, we're not kind of focusing on something like that's more mechanical like that is because we're trying to make a good roleplay build that fits, like, the ability set of the Iron Hand of Vecna, which isn't just Bone Chill. Like, there's a lot of good shit that we got to get on this character. And what feats do we want? Well, we're considering Alert, which honestly does make sense. Oh, we got so much stuff we need to get. That's kind of the thing. Hi, JP. What have you missed? Not much. Hi, Ben. Good to see you. Better save Warlock for Raven Queen? No? Yes, no. I definitely think we save for Warlock for Raven Queen because, come on, we already know what that's going to be pretty much. But, yeah, I'm thinking that... Because we want to get See Invisibility, which we're going to get from the Eye of Volo, for sure. Which obviously makes sense for a bunch of reasons. We want the immunity to blindness. We want good saving throws. We want a high perception. We want, which obviously comes from wisdom anyway, which is fine. We want Crown of Madness, Disintegrate, Dominate Person, and Eye Bite. We want cold damage melee attacks, maybe plus a little bit of Necrotic as well. Sleep Slow. We want the teleport spells, so Misty Step and Dimension Door. And we want passive healing. We've got a long list of shit that we need, right? No, we're not using any mods, Micah. That's kind of the point of series like these, is I try not to use mods for these ones. And I don't like making level 20 builds in this game personally, because the thing is, okay, so my issue with level 20 builds in general in Baldur's Gate 3 is that the game is designed around level 12, and as soon as you go past that level, you start to reach a point where the game is not balanced for that, and I don't really like that so much. I feel like if you're going to make a level 20 build, you've got to have a bunch of mods installed to make the game scale properly to level 20, and at that point, that's not really user-friendly for a lot of average players, especially those on console. So I don't like level 20 builds personally. Don't get me wrong, if you play with level 20, it's perfectly fine, but it's not my personal preference. That's just it. So, like, honestly, you can make a level 20 version of this build, and it would be probably way more accurate, especially if you throw on Mistress spells and get all those extra spells as well. Absolutely. But that's a different video, maybe far down in the future, right? It can be complicated, yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at. You're making your first tabletop homebrew class. Interesting, JP. I've actually been I'm actually currently in the process of making homebrew subclasses for every class for a sort of modern magic campaign I'm running. I've talked about it on the channel a bit before, but it's actually starting to happen now. I've got things like Cyberneticist Artificer, which is like Cyberpunk 2077, but for Artificer, like with like the actual body mods and stuff. It's like biomechanics. We've got the Force Mage Sorcerer, which is all about using mage armor to like give yourself like force damage, like attacks and such like that. And there's a few others as well. There's like Gadgeteer Rogue, which is basically like James Bond using gadgets. There's... what else have I made? And I've also adapted some things from the UA Modern Magic to be updated for the 2024 rules. So there's Ghost in the Machine Warlock, Technomancer Wizard, and City Domain Cleric. I've kind of updated a few of those and like given them their own homebrew abilities. Like stuff like that, right? I've been having fun with it. I'm about halfway done. I've got a few more that I got to do. I've got to do Fighter, which it's going to be like... I've kind of got this idea where it's going to be like you focus on one weapon and you can modify that weapon in many ways. Kind of similar to... like Final Fantasy and its materia system, Final Fantasy VII, where you get like the weapon and then you can equip it with like the materia and stuff. That's kind of the plan. Stuff like that. But anyway, that's completely off topic. I got distracted because someone said homebrew and I like oversharing. But anyways, consider reading up on some stuff like Starfinder. I have looked at Starfinder because I originally was going to run Starfinder or Stars of Outnumber, but I've kind of had to lean away from that, unfortunately. Oh, thanks for coming, Sif. See you later. Have you played Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader? I have not. I'm not into Warhammer as much as some of the other stuff. But anyways, off track, sidetracked. Level split. Now that I've seen the level 8 Divine Strike Necrotic, and I think we are going to want 3 feats for this build, I'm thinking Necromancy 4, Death Domain 8. How are we feeling about that? Also consider Shadowrun. I've got the Shadowrun games. I've just never played them, but I will have a look at that. Known for saving throws? Maybe. Maybe. Dirge Tiefling? Yeah, you've been saying that one, Boko. We'll have a look at the feat choices, the race choices in a minute. Agreed, agreed. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think it gets us the most of everything that we want. Right, so here we go. Let's actually do the build section on my document. Right, here we go. Might need a stat item, but sounds good. Yeah, we'll have to see. Elf/half-elf for perception, I'd say. Maybe, yes. No, that actually does make sense, Beerbird, actually. That is a good point. To get innate perception proficiency, that might be worth it. Yeah, Julia, you got a good idea for the stat spread as well. Again, this is all that sort of stuff I figure out when I go away and actually like do the stats. And so I do all the like heavy mathematical crunching myself. But we do figure out the general specifics. So I think, yeah, Death, Cleric, 8, Necromancy Wizard. Necromancy Wizard 4. Yep. I'm happy with that stat spread. I think that gets us everything that we want in a nice package. No, I'm going to try and avoid the Gloves of Dex for this one. Do you know what? I just had an idea, actually. So you know how one of the things for the Iron Hand of Vecna was that you gain 20 strength for being attuned to it? And I was wondering, how on earth are we going to get 20 strength? Okay, how about this? So we talked about, so I was talking about like, you know, the potions of giant strength obviously would be the easiest way. But what if there's actually a reason for it? Like imagine, you're a level 1 adventurer, fresh out of the Nautiloid, everything's kind of screwed up. And all of a sudden you're starting to awaken to the powers of goddamn Vecna, the Iron Hand. Imagine how much strain that would put on your body. Like, you would be falling apart at the seams just trying to contain that level of necromantic power. What if you need physical strength to do it? What if you need to down those potions of giant strength just to keep yourself going? I don't know, just for the lore reason and achieving the goal of getting the hand's 20 strength all in one batch? I kind of like that. I think that could work. And again, like collecting the scrolls, it's another side quest to achieve throughout the playthrough. I like that, actually. Steroid addicts, in a way, yeah. I've kind of used this justification before, like with my Pit Fighter build from ages ago, right? So that's what I'm thinking, right? Like, you're not doing it just because it's the optimal thing to do, which in this case it is. There's actually a reason for it. Okay, but what does strength add? Literally nothing other than ticking a box, but... No, strength does add something because we are using melee attacks with this build. We're going to be using Divine Strike, Necrotic, and Cold damage attacks because that's part of the hand that's eye set. So this is a spell sword build because I think we're going to be attempting to dual wield here. Using a daggers, I think, as well. Maybe a staff and daggers. Maybe we need the dual wielder feat. I don't know. Strength will add bludgeoning damage from a quarterstaff. Exactly. So actually, yes. I think the potions of Hill Giant Strength work here. Potions of Giant Strength to properly wield the Hand of Vecna. Boom. I actually think that works. Feats. I definitely think we need the alert feat just for flavor, right? I'm gonna say we can fit, like, with 3 feats, I think we can fit alert in here. And I think the rest just has to go towards ability score improvements, but I definitely think we can fit alert in here for sure. Hand Maiden's Mace. Hey Leo, what's up? Dwagar mentions his followers being related to morally corrupt psionic users. You could also get dark vision, poison resistance, and mental resistance stuff, also enlarged for strength stuff. Dwagar could certainly work here, from a thematic point of view, for sure. Okay, here's the thing, though, guys. And I want you to be 100% honest with me here. This is literally that meme of, like, okay, who thinks Dwagar is perfect for this build? Everyone raises their hands. Who actually wants to play a Dwagar? Everyone puts their hands down. Let's be real. When people play this game, they want to make their tall, you know, pretty, handsome-looking characters or whatever it is. Nobody actually wants to visually look at a Dwager or any dwarf or any of the short races. Let's be real. Because I've seen the YouTube statistics, and this is me having an actual pool of information to pull from. You include a gnome or any of the short races or anything like that in the build, and less people are interested in it. I'm genuinely not kidding. Like, there is a bias against short races in this game, and people will look at it and be like, yeah, of course Dwager makes sense. But do you actually want to play one? No. No, not at all. You only play... Like, come on. You know it's true. It's something we've all got to admit. You're only human after all. Exactly, right? You made a feminine dwarf with a beard once, as you should. Female dwarfs should be able to have beards. Like, that is just... I mean, it just makes sense. I don't want to play a small guy, you're already small. Ouch. Took a bullet to prove my point there. And yeah, people do love dwarves, and I'll be honest, I really wanted there to be, like, a new minor companion added to the game with patch 8, which was a drunken brawler monk dwarf, like with the drunken monks subclass, but they didn't, which, I mean, obviously they weren't going to, but if they did, that would have been so cool. Like, maybe that's a mod in the future, who knows? Donk. Your warlock was known for 15 years. Damn! Nice. Yeah, I know, there are obviously people who do, but you would be surprised how much the vast majority of people do. Like, honestly, what I will do in the video, I will say, Dwager works, Gnome works, all this works, but play what you like. That's what I do. Sazza should have been a companion. I don't know, I never really did too much with Sazza in my playthroughs. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know the Raven Queen build is going to be probably a drow, because that's the closest thing we could do to Shadow Kai, right? But anyways, yeah, but back on track. Honestly, this is where we get distracted, but like, okay, so feats for short alert. Weapons. Let's have a look at the weapons that we want for this build. Let me just close some windows here. We get right back into it. So, weapons. I think someone mentioned the Cold Snap dagger, and honestly, I do agree. I think the Cold Snap makes a lot of sense here. Because it's cold damage, it can work as an offhand attack for us. The only thing is we're probably not going to be able to get 2-weapon fighting in this build, which does suck a little bit, but that's honestly not a huge deal. We like the buff to our armor class. We like it that when a creature misses us, they become chilled. We like all of that. Pastry, calm down. I've just seen that. Calm down. Barker should have been a companion. I don't know. There's a lot of... The thing is, though... Everybody in the betas said that Housen should have been a companion. Then they made Housen a companion, and then suddenly no one likes Housen anymore. Like, the sentiment towards Housen as a character in the party is not great, mainly because after Act 2 he does nothing, but I don't know. I will not be silenced. Well, you might be. Red moderates this chat, and if she thinks you're being too horny, she will just bonk you for a bit. You'll get timed out, so be careful. She's not said anything, but she's always lurking. Trust me. You have a Dwager and Whispers Bard? Very fun. Yeah, no, it can be. She was lurking last time. Exactly. She's the lurking punk. Yeah, Steve gets it. Oh, gosh. But yeah, no, I like the idea of Cold Snap, but let's see what else we can work with here. Quarterstaffs. I mean, obviously, let's get the obvious idea out of the way first. The Staff of Cherished Necromancy. This is obviously like a be-all, end-all quarterstaff. It comes with extra necrotic damage. Creatures have disadvantage on saving throw against your necromancy spells, and when the wielder kills a hostile creature with the spell, they greedily absorb its energy, gaining life essence until the next long rest. And life essence means you get to cast necromancy spells for free. I mean, this obviously feels like a natural thing, right? Hi, Eldritch, good to have you here, mate. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Because there was definitely some good arguments made for this one, having like a cold necrotic damage split. I feel like we have one free feat in this build, even if it doesn't improve, like, a stat. I feel like we've got one free feat in this build. It's just, I'm not sure if I want to maybe go for Alert, which feels like it makes sense for the Eye of Vecna, or we maybe want to go for Dual Wielder to set up, like, a cold damage, like the chill of death for even coming near us, plus the like Staff of Cherished Necromancy built into that as well. There's also Morning Frost as well, which we could use in the early game. That feels like a solid early game option no matter what. It comes with its own little side quest and such as well. Again, I love my side quests. Or the Hollow Staff, which I think is... No, that's Act 3, actually. Never mind. For some reason, I thought that was Act 1. Probably because I was thinking. Or even Creation's Echo. For when we deal necrotic damage, we become resistant to it. That's another really good early game option. I know. Maybe dual wield and 2 ASIs. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We've got 2 spellcasting stats. We definitely need to make sure that we're using them correctly. You're biased to a big weapon, small weapon build, so Vecna's other end. Yeah, I don't know. It's either Alert or Dual Wield. I can and again, I can even make it like you choose what you want to build. Like, again, you could, if you don't care for Alert, you can put in the Dual Wielder feat. Because again, at the end of the day, the build video isn't set in stone. I just show one variant of it, and then you guys do the rest, right? You know what I mean? What about Arcane Charges? Arcane Charge. I know what that one. I know what that one is. That's the... I actually think I like Creation's Echo more than Morning Frost here, so I think that'll be our early game option. Give me a second. Arcane Charge. Yeah, the Arcane Charge is a weird one, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So while damaging threatened C-Notes entities, you deal +2 damage to them with spells. So basically, while a creature is threatened, if you have the Arcane Charge, you will deal more spell damage. It's kind of weird. Yeah, the Necromancy Staff is absolutely correct. I think you definitely want to aim for this in the late game for sure. I'm honestly leaning more towards the dual wielding thing, just for the overall image of Vecna that it gives. Like, again, he is known for using a dagger. I feel like that works really well. But again, Alert also makes sense. But then again, if you have a high... but then, of course, we might not have as high of a dexterity, so we're going to want decent initiative. But then again, if I'm primarily playing a spellcaster and we're kind of in the backline, that's not a huge deal. This is where it gets tricky, you see. This is where it gets tricky. Hey, Sophie, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here as a first-time viewer. You're watching my slow descent into madness, as always. But thank you for joining. And they have disadvantage on saves against most of your spells. Yeah, I definitely think the Staff of Cherished Necromancy is a no-brainer. Yeah, gotta go with that one. Cleric has medium armor. Cleric has medium armor. Cleric has medium armor. And I'll tell you why I wasn't thinking of that, because if we go over here, I was immediately thinking of like things like the Veil of Mourning, for just specific things against undead, but also like the Robe of the Weave and such like that, just in general, because that would give us a bit more AC, we'd gain the spell safety C, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, medium armor could work. I never even figured that. Fair enough, JP. Fair enough. Hi, Leo, what's up? May I ask which build style he's trying to build? A little bit of everything. Mechanically, we're mainly looking at the Iron Hand of Vecna, so if you guys want to follow along with that, if you guys want to kind of use that as a reference, there you go. It's a link. There's a link in the chat for you. If you kind of want to follow along with what I'm trying to get. But basically, abilities from this, mix in the lore we've come with Vecna, like had a look at Vecna's story and all that, and we've got a really interesting idea for the roleplay side of things. Now we're just figuring out the mechanical side of things. Yep. You'd want it for the Divine Strike? True. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's up to people to decide what they want in the video. Like, I will present both options in the video, and people can decide what they want. That's the whole point of build videos. Yeah, we're not really, like, well, we're mainly focusing because we want the other stuff. Anyway, we were looking at medium armor. That's right. I got distracted again, because that's what happens with me. Right, let's have a look. So, I mean, Dark Justician Mail retaliates with necrotic damage. There is... Oh, no, that's heavy armor. I was going to say there's a piece of armor that gives you resistance to necrotic damage, but that is heavy armor. That will not work. Could you hold the bow of awareness instead of taking the feat? Oh, shit. Hang on, really? I totally forgot about the bow of awareness. I forgot that existed. Wait. Which one's that? Is that a short bow or a long bow? Bow of the Banshee, least expected vicious short bow, Blightbringer. Bow of awareness. You gain a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. I mean, it's better than nothing? But for a passive bonus that just exists on the build, there's no reason not to have it, right? I mean, yeah, I'm gonna throw it on here as just a passive bonus. There's no bonus, I guess. But, there is a longbow version that is better. Let's have a look at the longbow version. Let's have a look. Ah, Hellrider Longbow. Gain a +3 bonus to initiative rolls and advantage on perception checks. There we go. That is an Act 3 version, but we can use the Bow of Awareness in the early game. Then... Oh, you guys are legends. I totally forgot about bows. Then use the Hellrider Longbow in the late game. There you go. That's it. I think at that point, we might not need alert, and I think that makes the dual wielder strategy a lot more viable, but I will still consider alert in the video as an option. I'll have it in the description. But I think now we can go with the dual wielder variant for the, having the dagger in the offhand and the staff, and I think it will still work. See, this is why I don't just do these things in isolation. When we do these big, heavy lore build streams, like, we do it together, because you guys think of things that I wouldn't even have really thought about, because I didn't even consider bows for this build. Oh, well done, guys. Brilliant stuff. Now, back to armor. So, what would work for armor? Ah, thanks for joining, Boko. See you later, mate. Thanks for coming by. People are going to hang on to that bonus thing for a while. I mean, this just looks like it would work. But I think it's too connected to Shadowheart, really. But obviously this would be like the best possible thing. Advantage on the con saves. And like retaliating with necrotic. I feel like that could be really good, but Hi Marcel, good to have you here. Is this idea similar to the deity build series where you have to have at least one level in Warlock? Actually, no. While a lot of patron builds, in quotations, would use Warlock levels, they don't require Warlock levels. For example, when we do the Raven Queen in a minute, that's absolutely going to have a Warlock level at least, because she's heavily connected to Warlocks. But this, in this sense, we don't need to, because this character isn't, like, consciously being given power by Vecna, so a pact doesn't make sense. But we are still going to be getting the powers of Vecna because Hand and Eye and such like that, right? Grab heavy armor proficiency and get the Ketheric armor. I mean, yeah, I feel like we'd be sacrificing a bit, though, to try and get that. And I don't like having the disadvantage on dex saves, personally. I know that's a thing you can toggle, but I don't know. And yeah, I get it. I get it. But I don't want to really use a feat to get it. You know what I mean? It's kind of tricky. Gotcha, cool. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be an interesting series. For con save advantage and the immunity to blindness, the Steel Watcher Helm would be your pick. Right, the Steel Watcher Helm could be quite good for the headpiece, actually. That is a good point. Very interesting. Okay. Hi, Matt! Thank you for joining the stream from Texas. Glad to have you here. Welcome to the stream. I'm currently debating armor. I do, yeah, thank you for considering it. Yeah, I will see. I will consider it. I always consider everything, but I'm just kind of considering all the options as well. There's the Dark Justiciar half-plate, which would give you advantage on Constitution saving throws. Maybe? There's also the uncommon version that allows you to, when obscured by shadow, the wearer deals 1d4 necrotic damage to attackers that hit them with a melee attack. That's probably not the best thing in the world, to be honest. What are you looking for in the armor? Just something with a solid defensive score, because I know our dexterity is not going to be the highest. As well as giving us something that I feel like would fit the build. You know what I mean? Flame Enamel doesn't look the part, but the initiative is good. Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from there. And technically, we can always use camp clothing to hide it as well. So at the end of the day, the look isn't a huge deal. But I'm not using modded camp clothing at the moment, so it would be slightly more what's the word for it? Like kind of basic look-wise. Flame Enamel armor used to chill fire shield. No, I don't want to go that far with the shield because I don't think we're going to be using a shield on this build. Is there an armor that adds a modifier that isn't dex to armor class? No, nothing like that exists in the game, unfortunately. The 1T Scale Mail does look good, and it has an uncapped dexterity modifier with the +1 to initiative rolls. It could work. The way the robes kind of drape down on the sides. I mean, I have a personal bias with this armor because it's one of my favorites visually with the female version, because like with the neckerchief and all that, I think it looks really good. The original Dancer build wore this one as well. Won't the build have relatively low dex? So yeah, I'm not imagining this build is going to have a higher score in dex than maybe like 12 to 14. Because I'm going to want to have at least a bit of constitution, which is why we're also going to want something that gives us advantage on constitution saving throws, so I'm not sure. Yeah, no, we probably will be concentrating on things, but I think for that, hang on, give me a second just to... 1 second. If I go here to items, because I think someone suggested something that makes a ton of sense already. We scroll down... Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Should be here. In the medium section, I believe. Yes. The Steel Watcher helmet is going to give us advantage on constitution saving throws and immunity to being blinded. In the late game, I feel like that one makes a lot of sense. So we're going to get like both of these. So like just... yeah, I think this makes the most sense. I know there's a lot of good robes and stuff, but I feel like with the defensive side of things, I think armor is going to be better in the long run. What about the Sporekeeper armor? The wearer gains a +1 bonus to spell safety DC when dealing necrotic damage, and when they deal necrotic damage, they deal an extra 1 necrotic damage. Yeah, that's fine. But I think the lower base AC is gonna be a problem. Is it a charisma-heavy build or another stat? It is wisdom and intelligence, which is, again, why we're probably going to end up sacrificing dexterity a little bit. So, why we need a higher base AC, really. Elven Chain. I see where you're coming from. Where it has a +2 bonus to initiative rolls and advantage on dexterity saving throws. I do see it. And it technically can synergize with things that boost unarmored defense as well. And you can stack the defense a little bit in weird ways. You reckon clothing is better because you'll have mage armor? Yeah, you say that, but again, I know that this build is not going to have a high amount of dexterity, so mage armor loses value. I mean, if you guys are dead set on it, we can go back and look at the clothing overall. Let's see. 1 second, guys. My dog is barking. I just need to make sure there's nobody at the door. 1 second. Oh, incredibly sorry about that, everyone. There was someone at my door that was not supposed to be at my door. I thought there was a delivery that was supposed to be coming tomorrow, but it came today, and we were not informed. Anyways, my apologies. I'm back. I didn't mean for it to just be like 5 minutes of silence there. I do apologize. Was it Vecna? God, I hope not. Could have been. But anyways. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, let's see. What were we on about? Yeah, we were looking at armor. Oh, my bad. Better today than never. Exactly. Right. Let's see. Yeah, because we were kind of considering the possibility of clothing as well. Anyway, did you win? Good to use the leather armor +2 for now. Yeah, to be honest, I'll come back to the armor. I feel like we're mainly just looking at AC with the armor. I'm going to lock in the weapons that we had. Give me 1 second. Definitely Creation's Echo in the early game for that necrotic resistance. That's going to feel pretty damn good. Then you're going to grab the Staff of Cherished Necromancy, as well as the Cold Snap Dagger. Boom. Combine that with the Bow of Awareness, then the Hellrider Bow. You've got quite the pretty decent lineup. With Valor Love, you don't need strength. Yeah, but we're getting strength with this build anyway because it's part of the theme, and that's why we're going to be using potions for that because we thought of a pretty cool way to get it done. Right, we'll come back to the clothing thing later. Let's go. Let me open all the relevant windows here. Headwear, cloak, handwear, footwear, amulet, ring. So for the headwear, we know we want to use the Steel Watcher helmet in the late game, I'm pretty sure, because again, it just gives us two things that we want for the build. Advantage on con saves and immunity to blindness. It's a shame you don't get a fighting style. Yeah. Oh, you were just talking about the graceful cloth? Sorry, let me go through the chat. My apologies, guys. +1 for dual wielder, I guess. Yeah. Okay. You're talking about the graceful cloth. Let me have a look at it real quick. My apologies. Yeah, that's the problem when like you guys chat while I'm not here, because like I have to go back and keep up. Let's have a look here. The graceful cloth gives you a +2 to dexterity, gives you a bonus to your dex saving throws, and increases your jump distance. Gives you advantage on dexterity-based checks, and it's got like a skeletal cage vibe to it. Yeah, I can see it. Throw mage armor on there, and you've got a pretty decent stat distribution, I guess. The offhand is just bonus action filler? Yeah. If needed, there are gloves that yeah, no, it's not a huge thing that we're focusing on. We're just getting as many abilities from the hand and eye as possible. Or with strength form for extra gains, yeah, but with the potion, we don't need it, but I know you're just memeing. You really like the Helldusk helmet and boots idea? Yeah, I know, but... And I understand, but I understand why that could work. But at the same time... It doesn't quite fit the vibe. It's weird to say it doesn't quite fit the vibe. Because, here, let me look. Like, obviously, we get the Hellcrawler teleport. Which is okay, but fire damage is not something that we're focusing on here. The other two abilities, don't get me wrong, are nice. But again, also, fire ability, not really what we're focused on here. We get all the other stuff, which is nice. And I guess if you want to go for the more unarmored defense playstyle, technically this works. But then we have to find a way to get Constitution saving throw advantage elsewhere, which I know I want for this build. So it's a bit tricky. Hi, Omega, we're doing Vecna. Like, so don't get me wrong, I see the vision, I see what you're on about. And there are certain variations where this works. And the protection from critical hits is also nice. I mean, But then again, if we're always using the Hell Dust set, I feel like. That's just me, personally. I feel like I use the Hell Dust set way too much. I'm using quite a lot of it for the next build. For reasons. But let's see. Whereas I feel like that advantage on con saves, just being available on the headpiece, feels really nice. But then again, yeah, Mage Armor doesn't work with the Steelwatcher Helm. That's the thing. That's where you have to have a look at, like, and make concessions in so many different ways. It's tricky, right? Like, I think the equipment is going to be the hardest thing about this build by far. I mean, the other headway you can grab for the Constitution saving throw is this. Because you get that. You also get a bit of momentum, but that's obviously not really relevant. We'd just be using it for this. But then, in that case, we're not really getting much other benefits from it. It's tricky. Fun early game for funsies, the Master from anti-Ethel. Yeah, I know what you mean. A bit far-fetched, but just one level of Monk to add the Wisdom to the AC. Yeah, but we'd lose a feat. That's the problem. And I don't think the overall increase in AC is going to be worth it over, like, what you could just get from armor, right? What else do we need from the list so far? Okay, let me pull up the list. So, we've got See Invisibility, because we're going to get that from the Eye of Volo. We need immunity to blindness. We need to have decent saving throws. We want a high perception, which we do have. We were originally going to go for alert, but we kind of got that through the bows, so we got that. We need passive healing, and then the spells that we need to grab are Crown of Madness, Disintegrate, Dominate Person, Eye Bite, Sleep, Slow, and the teleport spells like Misty Step and Dimension Door. The Displacement Cloak to counter the possibly low AC? Yeah, maybe. If we don't need to get Dominate Person... If we need to get Dominate Person from a scroll anyway, then we don't need the Nymph Cloak, which is what I was originally leaning towards. The healing is a ring? Yeah, we could go for that. Wait, hang on a minute, actually. 1 second. Had a thought as well. Headwear. I just had a thought. Baldur's Helm. Attackers count blank critical hits. You gain 2 HP at the start of every turn. Gain a +1 bonus to armor class and saving throws. And you cannot be stunned. This feels like it could work. Would the Diadem of Arcane Synergy work with the Necrotic Smite? Yes, it would. It would add your spellcasting ability modifier, I believe, to the melee attack. Yeah, Baldurins. Yeah, Marcel. That's what we're looking at. This does give us a lot of what we're after. It does give us a lot of what we're after. And it could also trigger... Nah, probably not. Yeah, for the late game. Yeah, this is the thing. This is why I was leaning more towards the idea of wearing armor on this build, because then we don't have to worry about all this like mage armor and unarmored defense shenanigans. But you know what? Let me worry about the actual armor and such like that. I'm leaning more towards the Helm of Baldur now as well. I'm not going to worry about the actual armor or something for now. I'm just going to see what else we can grab. I really want that immunity to being blinded, though. In which case, the Eversight Ring can fulfill that role. I feel like it's necessary to be immune to blinded. So we can go for the Eversight Ring. And I think the other one we were looking at was originally the Ring of Regeneration for the HP regen, but honestly, I don't know if we need that now if we go down the Helm of Baldur route. If you need fly, then yeah, you could go down the Illithid Power route if you needed to, but I'm not focusing on flight for this build, because flight's a pain in the ass to try and build for, really, if you're not doing tadpole stuff. After Death Do Us Part obviously also thematically fits. Whereas Witch Ring? The Eversight Ring? The Eversight Ring is in Act 2, in the House of Healing. The Ring of Regeneration is late game, unfortunately, but unfortunately all of the passive healing stuff is late game, so... That's not really... Yeah, so you basically get it from the wizard who wants the Night Song. Yeah. But the amulet... I mean, in the late game, to be honest, there is this, which kind of just fixes every problem that we have. as much as I hate relying on it, this does fix every problem with this build. From a stat perspective. It fixes everything. Just straight up. But relying on, like, waiting to the end game to rely on that is going to feel like shit. That's the only problem. I also like the Amulet of the Devout as well, for the +2 to spell saves, and the extra channel divinity charge for our necrotic damage passive from Death Cleric. Yeah, it does, and I hate that it does. We could go with the Periaptive Wound Closure to start, and then swap to the Amulet of Greater Health in the late game. Plus, the Servant of Vecna would seek powerful artifacts. An artifact to counter the effects of your decaying body makes sense as well. You'd prefer Devout? Yeah. But I feel like the Amulet of Greater Health just does more. Fixes some of the issues that the build has. You are going to have to be flippant with the progression in the early game, for sure. I definitely think you're wearing the Warped Headband of Intellect in the early game. I don't think there's any question about that. Just wake up in your jar if you die. I know that's not a Mark reference, Sin, but it kind of felt like a Mark reference at the same time. Did the Shah buff work for the immunity to blindness? Possibly. So here's what I'm thinking now. You start with the Periaptive Wound Closure in the early game, eventually upgrading to the Amulet of Greater Health. You start off in the early game with the... Scroll too far. With the Warped Headband of Intellect, either eventually upgrading to the Steel Watcher Helmet, or the Helm of Baldur, right? For the Cloak, there's a couple of options here. The Cloak of Displacement for Blur, or the Nymph Cloak for Dominate Person. Either of those work, right? I think a Vecna believer would want the Orcs to work for them. Maybe, I know, but at the end of the day, power is power and we need it. The gloves... And obviously there's like the Dark Justiciar gauntlets if you want your weapon attacks to deal necrotic damage, that's whatever. Glove of the Balanced Hands if you want the offhand attacks. What else do we have here? I just hate the set to X items. Yeah, so do I. But at the end of the day, for a build like this, it's like a necessary evil, unfortunately. Like, where we have so many moving parts that we're trying to consider, to still have a functional build, you do kind of just have to say, we got to take the thing that gives us the stat. That's just it. Hi, Poop. We are currently, you know, we're going through the 5 stages of denial at the moment, or whatever it is, the 5 stages of death. We're currently on the, like, bargaining and denial bit, I think, where we're just kind of realizing we kind of need to use the Amulet of Greater Health in the late game. Grief. Thank you, Ben. Let's see. What else do we have here that could work? At the end of the day, power is power and I need it is a really good villain quote. Especially when it's delivered so casually, like, well, you know, it's just who I am. You could use the +1 Wiz Amulet with the Hag Hair to get 16. Yes. I guess I never did consider Anti-Ethel's Hair in the playthrough. I suppose it can be used. To be honest, I don't really ever consider Anti-Ethel's Hair anymore when I make builds, I must admit. Someone goes for unarmored, then the unarmored braces could work. Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. But I don't think we're going to end up going down that route, so I'm just kind of having a look at what I think might work. I always like the Daredevil gloves for builds like this, so that we can just... We gain a buff to spell attack rolls, which is always nice. And then we don't take a penalty for close range spells. The Daredevil gloves are usually a pretty good bet, especially since they're early game. Yeah, well, that's the problem it is with this sort of thing, Sin. With something as detailed and intricate as Vecna, I knew this is going to take a while, which is why I said, we'll build the Raven Queen, and anything else beyond that is a hard maybe, because I know how in-depth we get on this sort of thing. The Dark Justiciar gloves have Necro? Yes, they do. They do. Daredevil gloves are big with Death Cleric because you can use the domain ability on any cantrip. Yeah, the domain ability on any cantrip? What do you mean by that specifically, sorry? Are we missing stuff on the list still? Honestly, no. I think at this point, I know how to get everything. Most of it is spells that we're going to get from Wizard and spell scrolls, so that's not an issue. We actually kind of have everything at this point. We're just seeing what works. I'm gonna start looking this stuff in so I can close some tabs because I've got a lot of tabs open right now. I think we're gonna go for. I think the Helm of Baldur made the most sense in the end, personally. Boom. The cloak, I'll come back to that. Handwear is the other thing. We know we're going to go for this into this, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to start to try... Like, I will figure out the exact specifics later on for Vecna, I think, for some of the equipment. Because we do probably want to move on to the Raven Queen soon. Otherwise, we might not have enough time to actually give it, like, the attention it deserves, which I don't want to do. And I think for the rings, we're definitely looking at Eversight as a possibility. I'm just kind of putting everything into my document now, just so I have less tabs open. This Ring of Regeneration. I was also thinking of the, hang on, where is it? The Snowburst Ring, I believe, as well, wasn't I? Just have an extra cold damage effect. Shadow Blade Ring, Shadow Cloaked Ring, Snowburst Ring, creates ice. I'm just going to have that on the list, and again, I'll go back and look over this in more detail when it's actually time to do the video. Kefric's Undead Command Ring. Yep, that's another one. There's also After Death Do Us Part that also fits the build. The Ring of Exalted Marrow also fits the build. The Crypt Lord Ring obviously fits the build. There's a lot of things that fit the build when it comes to rings. That's just how it is. So I'm going to put these all on the list and kind of present them as options in the video that you can kind of use at your leisure. Because what this video will be is like, hey, there's a lot of stuff here. Use what you want to use, right? Like, that's kind of going to be the thing. And again, you can exchange rings in and out. Like, once you've used the Create Undead Ring, you technically don't need to keep it on anymore. You can just swap it out. So I would say there's just a lot of ring options, for sure. We're good on rings. I don't think that's a problem. Amulets, we've got a clear set path for that. Macabre? Did they fix the After Death Do Us Part? I don't think so. I don't think they fixed the Shadow Possession thing, unfortunately. I'll see if there's anything on the rings page. Yeah, bug. Shadow Possession is removed instantly from the wearer upon leaving the down state. So no, it has not been fixed. You basically just get up for free with half your HP. Which, for a Vecna build, makes sense. But I always wanted Shadow Possession to get fixed, just because I liked the idea of your character losing their mind thematically. But I guess not. What is the After Death Ring if not a handheld revive jar? Yeah, I don't think that the remaining equipment is that important now. No, I think we've got everything. I really think we do. I think, like, we've achieved the goals of the build, because I know most of the spells we're going to get through the spell casting from Wizard. And I think we've got everything else that we actually need. I think the rest of the equipment is just going to be me sitting down and figuring it out. Otherwise, we've got everything else. So, I'll be honest, we've got the lore stuff. We've got most of the mechanics down. I will just have to do a little bit of finagling. Otherwise, I think the rest of the equipment is just going to be stuff that elevates the stuff that we've already managed to obtain. I think I'm good on Vecna here. Are we all good to move on from Vecna now? Because I feel like we've got a really cool backstory. I feel that makes sense for the main game. That fits within which fits within like a warrior chosen by Vecna or whatever. And the rest of the equipment is just kind of there. I think we got it. Why not Shadowstalk 2? We lose a feat. And I don't want to lose a feat because we need as many feats as we can get. Yeah, cool. I'm just going to quickly write into the build the lore that we came up with, just so I don't forget, just a basic overview. Who thinks they are worshipping Hell Envor, but are secretly being controlled by Vecna to gain control over the absolute eventually new body for him. Perfect. Yep, Raven Queen time. So I'm going to leave Vecna for now, because that is a lot of stuff for one character. I'm just looking at this document and it's pretty big. But I'm happy to leave it where we are for now and move on to the Raven Queen. Since we did spend quite a lot of time on Vecna, I might go over the stream limit, because what I needed to do isn't urgent. I just wanted to get it done. I think we can go a bit further into the stream for the Raven Queen. Right. Let's have a read of the Raven Queen. And if anybody knows of any items similar to the Iron Hand that we could potentially use as a mechanical reference, please let me know. Let's have a look. The Raven Queen was an interloper goddess of death, fate, and the winter world of Nerath. She was also a mysterious entity from the Shadowfell. That's a big connection already. Who was revered by the Shadar Kai. I think we're going to attempt to make a Shadar Kai, or at least something as close as we can with this build. I think that makes sense. So we will give this page a read as well after reading the Raven Queen. Shadow Hexer, I'm already thinking, yeah. The Raven Queen is trapped by her fascination with the past. She sits in her fortress amidst all the memories of the world, looking at the ones who please her most as though they were glittering jewels. Many great wizards have attempted to understand her motives, but like a raven, she has always remained cryptic, keeping her cache of secrets just out of reach. What does she look like in 4th edition? Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, so she does have cleric domains, life and death, but she's mainly worshipped by the Shadow Kai. Well, we've already got a death domain cleric, so I think I'm going to lean away from that for this build. We'll see. Looking forward to the Bull Patron. That could actually be quite fun. I would absolutely do that. The Crow Amulet is directly linked to her, right? Quickly have a look. Orbid. Token. Yeah, it's literally directly connected to her, so I'm going to keep that page open. Give me 1 second. There we go. I can open that in the new tab now. Yeah. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. I think that makes sense as well. Life and death, interesting combo of domains. Yeah, exactly. That's what makes this deity really interesting. The Raven Queen did not possess or manifest a physical form, instead appearing as a miscellany of symbols, perceptions, and images. What the fuck's this then? Is it just a general depiction? Whoops, backed out of the page by accident. Anyways. The Raven Queen was obsessed with collecting and observing mementos and fragments of memories and essences. Many sages speculated that she was in fact insane. You know, this bitch may just be crazy. Believing her methods and behavior to be little more than aimless curiosity or a desperate attempt to prevent her fragile existence from fading into oblivion. So literally, her behavior seemed little more than aimless curiosity. Isn't that literally like crows and ravens sometimes? I know they're intelligent birds, but they are also very curious. I do find that kind of funny. I think you go Gloomstalker, you can get Find Familiar. Yeah, Ranger gets Find Familiar at level 1 if you choose it. Artistic rendition, I guess. Is it time for the Raven Ranger build? Maybe. Oh, Hexblade! Wait, Hexblade Gloomstalker? Maybe? We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to it. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's keep reading. So, believing her methods and behavior to be little more than aimless curiosity, prevent her fragile existence from fading into oblivion. Here we are. Others maintained that there was a cosmological function that was performed by the Queen's actions, as she purified souls by forcing mortals to deal with their fears and pains. It was believed that her true intentions were known only to the Lady of Pain, who Vecna had beef with. Gloomstalker is my boat. Hexbow is a thing? Yeah, I think so. Oh, Hexbow is a thing in tabletop. Yeah. Like, that is a type of build. So who knows, maybe. The Raven Queen was held as an important deity within the Dawn War and Exandrian pantheons. Well, I can't speak today. I can't speak any day, but you know. She was worshipped by the Shadar Kai, so obviously this is going to be like an elven-type build, as we've already established. And people in mourning who wanted their deceased loved ones to be protected from becoming undead, as well as by people who worship her as a goddess of fate and appeal to her to alter their fortunes. Like, literally, still a kind of an evil deity, right? But like the opposite of Vecna, which I find really fun, just like as a juxtaposition. She's one of the few entities in D&D that does not have a stat block. Really? That's interesting, actually. She might have to be something we build on as well. Beastmaster gets a Raven companion, just to keep that in mind. Yeah, but you play Beastmaster, and you just got to invest so many levels into it that it just doesn't feel fun. But then again, one level dip of Hexblade is kind of a thing. I don't know, maybe, because I definitely think we're going Hexblade, right? Like, that's just whatever. But again, getting ahead of ourselves. Let's keep reading. One of the Raven Queen's divine realms in the Shadowfell was a castle known as the Fortress of Memories. It was a place of overwhelming sorrow, overflowing with memories taken from mortals and fragments of dead deities, material objects collected by the Shadowkai and brought to her as gifts, and apparitions of creatures and places associated with strongly emotional stories. Swarms of ravens occasionally flew out of the fortress, taking her cryptic messages to the far reaches of the multiverse, and acting as the Queen's eyes and ears while away. The Raven Queen was also said to claim a domain in the Shadowfell known as Letherna, a fortress of black ice within a frozen forest through which the souls of the deceased had to pass through before reaching the afterlife, according to some versions of the world access cosmology. Interesting. Yeah, I like the idea of us literally being one, like the character themselves literally being one of her ravens that does her bidding. As such, the Corvid token fits perfectly. Trying to build the Mirror of Loss into this build could be interesting. Yeah, maybe. As much as I hate the Mirror of Loss with a passion. Anyways, on Nerath, the Raven Queen held dominion over the domains of Death, Fate, and Winter. The whole existence of the Raven Queen was focused on collecting memories and strong emotions typically associated with loss and tragedy. To that end, she dispatched Shadowkai to the far confines of the multiverse to wait for such an event to unfold, as scouted by her ravens. And when they collect mementos, such as trinkets, memories from the living, and sometimes the souls of the dead, they brought them back to her. So, in my opinion, right, we're literally a Raven Shadowkai scout who is scouting the events of the main game. Like, the big event that is the absolute, strong emotions typically associated with loss and tragedy, that is the events of the game. We are one of the Raven Queen's Raven Scouts, basically taking all of this stuff back to her. That makes a ton of sense, right? Like, I think that makes sense. Like, we're almost like an omen. An omen of tragedy, which is literally what ravens are. I'm starting to see where this character's connections come in. Like, why she's the Raven Queen. Like, literally, she's an omen. Like ravens are in, like, in history. That's insane. Maybe when he was scouting, he got too close and was kidnapped? Yeah, exactly. Sounds like a wood elf with a proficiency in stealth waiting for the shadows. Yeah, maybe. Moon Druid gets Raven at level 4. Yeah, that could also be a thing. We'll have a look at it in a minute. Like I say, we're getting into the mechanical aspect already. Let's continue to think about the lore perspective here. They collected mementos such as trinkets. Yep. The Raven Queen also claimed domain of the souls of all Shadowkai, which always returned to her after their deaths. It was said that she is said to have forged the first weapons infused with shadow magic. These sentient blades, such as Black Razor, were found in many locations throughout the multiverse and were capable of binding with their wielders. For that reason, the Raven Queen was a popular Hexblade patron among warlocks. If that is not spelled out as clear as night and day, but this build needs to incorporate Hexblade. We already knew it. We all saw it coming. But it's right there. Shadow magic is what's got me, though. I'm wondering if Shadow Sorcerer needs to be involved somehow. Not sure yet. We will see. Because I know they actually built in some synergy. I know that the Hound from Shadow Magic actually has some synergy with Hexblade. Like, if you have a Hexblade's Curse target, you can make the Hound do, like, a new ability. It's kind of cool. Spore Druid Hexblade? I don't know if I like Spore Druid here. I'm not seeing a big necrotic thing just yet. I mean, obviously there's talk of death, but that doesn't always mean necrotic damage in a sense. But I like either. There's a couple of ideas floating around. Hexblade Gloomstalker or Hexblade Moon Druid, I think was the other one that I saw that I kind of like the ideas of. I think ravens are greater than hounds in this place. Yeah. Anyways, relationships. One of the Raven Queen's greatest enemies was the demon Lord Orcus, who constantly sought control of the Shadowfell. He hoped to find a weakness in her domain by discovering her true name. Another devout enemy of the Raven Queen was Vecna. We already read about that, so let's move on. Other wizards and necromancers craved the Raven Queen's knowledge and domain over souls, attempting to conquer the Fortress of Memories were constant, but they were always thwarted by her more fanatical Shadowkai defenders. The Prince of Frost hated the Raven Queen for her role in the loss of his beloved Sharia. The powerful Fey woman had fallen in love with a mortal hero, causing him to grow jealous, and she feared that for the safety of her mortal level, she tried to deny him. She then struck a bargain with the Raven Queen. Okay, this is something else entirely. Right. Okay, so then there's one last section on history, so we'll read this. What about Hexblade Beastmaster? Yeah, someone suggested that earlier, but again, with Beastmaster, you have to go so far into it. And while Hexblade is known for its one-level dips, do we really want to play level 1 Hexblade, level 11 Beastmaster? Because in my opinion, anything less than level 11 just isn't worth it in 99% of cases. Yeah, Beastmaster costs too much levels, exactly. What is Shadow Synergy with Hexblade? The Omen Dog having right behind you or something else? I can quickly have a look. 1 second. Let me show you. So if we go over to Shadow Sorcerer. Shadow Magic. Yeah. We go over here, Hound of Ill Omen. Right behind you. Materialize next to your Warlock. I did not mean to search that. Thank you, Opera. Yeah, so basically what it does is, right behind you is a special reaction, can be acquired by Nimbus by moving to an adjacent Accursed Spectre. So basically, if you have an Accursed Spectre up from your Hexblade feature, so you need to be a 6-6 split for this to work. Basically, Nimbus gets it too. Basically, he gets treated like an Accursed Spectre for the sake of using that. That's all it is. It's not a massive thing. But it is a cool little bit of synergy. Oh, see you later, Blake. Thanks for joining. Hi, Isra. Hexblade Shadow Sorcerer. Maybe, I don't know. Let's keep looking. I'm feeling a bit of a connection to nature more than Shadow Sorcerer, in my opinion. Although the complete account of the Raven Queen's motivations and origins were not generally known, it was believed that she was originally a much-beloved elf queen from the Feywild who witnessed a conflict between Corellian and Lolth. Worried that the dispute might tear the Celadrin asunder, she rallied her followers to perform a powerful ritual in order to become a deity so that she could have the leverage to appeal to the deity's senses. The ritual involved offering of the queen's followers' souls and magic to add to her own power, enabling her to reach Avandor. Followers, who called themselves the Shadowkai, again, there we go, firmly believed that the queen was capable of reunifying the elven pantheon and the sundered elves. However, evil wizards among the queen's followers attempted to divert some of the energy from the ritual to amplify their own powers. Moments before completing the ritual and reaching Avandor, the queen reacted by punishing the wizards with a burst of divine fury. This curse corrupted the ritual into a siphon that dragged the queen and her followers into the Shadowfell, where she was instantly killed. However, thanks to her recently acquired divine powers, the queen rose from the ashes and, in her growing madness and grief, transformed the wizards into wretched avian forms known as Nagpas, and banished them to forever wander the plains. The queen herself was still further transformed by the corrupted ritual, her form dissolving into disconnected sensory perceptions. Moreover, both Corellian and Lolth considered her actions to be treason, so they erased the memory of her existence from all elves. In order to avoid disappearing entirely, she drew on the memories of her existence from the Shadowfell itself in order to sustain her identity. Holy shit, this is a tragic backstory if I've ever heard one. Over time, the subjective remains of the Queen and the loose darker memories gave rise to the entity that became known as the Raven Queen. Another account of the Raven Queen's origin from the Word of Narath stated that she was originally a mortal queen, a powerful warrior or sorceress who died as a victim of the plagues sent to the mortal world by an ambitious god of death. The god of death fell in love with the queen, and when he saw her powerful soul and elevated her to be his consort, he named her Nera, her true name forever lost. Nera eventually learned the secrets to gain power from the souls of mortals. She led a rebellion against the god of death in Pluton, killing the god and usurping his throne and divinity. In order to prevent her from becoming a tyrant in the same fashion as the defeated god, other deities elevated her to the status of the goddess of death, but with no power over the dead themselves. That is actually interesting. So we're not going to be like using Animate Dead or anything of that sort on this build, in my opinion. Soon after her ascension, Nera expunged her true name from the knowledge of all creatures of the cosmos and began calling herself the Raven Queen. These accounts also state that the Raven Queen helped Corellian fight against Lolth by lending Corellian her Aria of Sorrowsworn. Lolth, forfeited her claim over the fate of domain after being defeated, leaving it available for the Raven Queen to assume. Damn. X-Play Shadow Sorcerer 6/6 would work. Well, yeah, obviously it would. And that, obviously the game does had that design intent in mind. Nera means black light. That's sick. Yeah. Oh, no, Ben, don't. Nope, not Nerevar. Not Nerevar. I know what you're talking about. Oh, good lord, what is that? Oh, okay, these are all just terrifying. I'm going to use them in my Call of Cthulhu game. Jesus. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. One of those freaking worms from Tremors on fucking legs. Ugh, I hate it. What? 2 people immediately said cute. Sorcerer and Shadow Creatures of the Shadowfell itself. Yeah, okay, this probably isn't relevant, unfortunately. But Shadow Kai, here we go. This I do want to read. What in the Lovecraft? Get the flavor. The heavy flavor. Shadow Kai were an offshoot of elves bound to the Shadowfell after the Raven Queen whom they served fell. Shadow Kai and the Shadowfell look like withered, almost corpse-like elves with wrinkled skin and swollen joints. On other planes they appear more youthful. Their hair was pale and their skin had a deathly pallor no matter the location. They preferred to wear cloaks and veils. They often wore masks of wood or metal to conceal their faces. Ooh. I can see the Dark Justicia mask coming into play here, or even Anti-Ethel's mask in a way. The Shadow Kai were mournful and joyless. They were neither benevolent or malevolent, although they were not inclined to follow rules. Right, here we go. The abilities of the Shadow Kai. Oh, good lord, you lot. I'm trying to ignore what's going on in the chat right now to an extent. The builds are amazing. Thank you and keep it the good work. Thank you, Jens. Welcome to the stream. There's one Shadow Kai. Yes, we actually do have the dude in the game who is a Shadow Kai, who we could pull inspiration from. He is the... Oh, what's his name? The Watch? No, what's his name? Oh, what's his name? He Who Was. Thank you. That's him. He Who Was. Shadow Kai Gloom Weaver. We can read him on him a little bit later. Let's have a look. The Shadow Kai are a bit hardier than other elves and possessed a resistance to necrotic energy. Okay. Resistance to necrotic damage might be on the list somehow. Some of them could teleport a short distance thanks to blessings from the Wavering Queen. Like other elves, Shadow Kai possess dark vision. Their elven nature also made them resistant to charm magic. Okay, so it's usually... That's just... Okay, so this is just, aside from the necrotic damage, basic elf stuff. So if we just pick an elven race, we're good. There's also a necrotic energy thing, which, again, I know we can get resistance to necrotic damage from that one heavy armor, and if we go down the route of Gloomstalker Ranger, we can pick up the Ranger Knight feature, which would give us heavy armor if we want to go down that route. Shadow Dancers, the warriors of the Shadow Kai, had only the ability to teleport up to 30 feet between shadows at will. I mean, I know that's Shadow Step from Shadow Monk, but really, if we go the Gloomstalker route, again, that could just be Misty Step for us. What's up? Getting Ranger Knight from level 1 to get heavy armor. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, yeah. He Who Was. He's just an NPC in the game. Did you post a full build, Sophie? Here we go. 7 Hexblade and 5 Ranger. Beastmaster gives you the Raven that lets you blind and curse targets with your Ranger, and then have another Raven from the gloves. Then you will become a Raven. Thank you, are the Swarm. Oh, that is actually kind of funny, yeah. But doesn't the regular Find Familiar spell already give us a Raven? I don't think we need the Raven from the gloves, right? Because unfortunately, I don't think they stack. But I like that idea, and that's kind of what I was leaning towards as well. We've got similar minds there. Okay, look. Gloom Weavers. It's literally right there. In fact, even going to this, look. Oh, if I could actually spell, that would be lovely. I mean, come on! It's right there. Yeah, and Find Familiar gives you a Raven. Just scout ahead. Dryad Ambusher feels like it makes sense. Misty Step. Mix that with Hex. I think we got the build already, but let's keep reading just in case there's some other inspiration we can pull from. Gloomweavers had more in the way of innate magics. They radiated a weakening aura that affected all beasts and humanoids, save for other Shadow Kai within 10 feet of them. When they were injured, they could reflexively turn invisible and teleport up to 60 feet away. That's the Archfey ability, which I guess makes sense if the Raven Queen was originally an Archfey. Like she was from the Feywild. They also had several innate magical abilities. They could replicate the spells Arcane Eye, Mage Armor, and Speak with Dead, so obviously we will be getting Speak with Dead. Arcane Gate, Bane, Compulsion, Confusion, and True Seeing, each once a day. They were also Warlock-type spellcasters. There you go, typically knowing the cantrips Chill Touch, Eldritch Blast, Minor Illusion, and Prestidigitation. And the spells Armor of Agathis, Blight, Darkness Dream, Invisibility, Fear, Hypnotic Pattern, Mage, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we could totally get this easily, like... I feel like this is one of the easiest, like, compared to Vecna, this is so easy to build, it's not even funny. Soulmongers were among the deadliest of the Shadow Kai. Ooh, the Soulmonger, that could be the name of the fucking build. Strong in magic and skilled in melee, they could radiate a wave of wariness. Okay, basically a stronger version of that. They were also resistant to most spells and other magical effects, and when they slew or knocked unconscious a creature, they could heal and strengthen themselves. Okay. They also possessed innate spell-like abilities, like being able to use Poison, Serenity, and Chill Touch, Bestow, Curse, Chain Lightning, Finger, Death, Gaseous Form, Phantasmal Killer, and Seeming. Yeah. Okay. You're obsessed with the 3-bird idea? You think you're going to run that for personally you and your bird friends? I have a build I'm planning that uses Scratch, Nimbus, and maybe also the Beastmaster Ranger Wolf at the same time, just so you're a dude with 2 or 3 dogs. That's giving Sword of Life Stealing. Yeah, there's the one. Yeah. Soulmonger goes hard. Well, I think I'm just going to pop that in as the name of the build. That is beautiful. Inside that build, there are 2 wolves. Yeah. Because I had the idea right. Because technically, if we wanted to keep Scratch alive, if we had Sanctuary up, we could put Sanctuary on Scratch, and then he could just be the one like who's taking like the help action on each of our turns and such like that, right? And then Nimbus is the one who's actually doing damage. And I actually had the idea to make it a kind of a tragic backstory where the reason the guy is a shadow sorcerer in the first place is because he learned how to use shadow magic to bring back one of his 2 dogs that passed away. And so now there's like Scratch, who is still there, who lost his master, and then there's like another. Then there's obviously the other dog who unfortunately passed away, and now they like come together. It's a weird thing. I'll explain it more in the actual video itself. But it's stuff like that. That's a sick backstory for Nimbus. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Also, hi Ben, good to see you. There's now 2 Bens. Like stuff like that, right? Like I've got fun. Like the thing is, now the patch 8's out, there's a lot of fun ideas to play with. But anyways, Shadow Kai typically wool-studded leather. Cool, light armor build, easy peasy. Unless we want to go for the heavy armor. We don't know yet. And wielded weapons infused with necrotic energy, Shadow Dancers used spiked chains to trip and entangle enemies, teleporting around and using every dim nook and corner as a hiding spot. Those who fought them and lived to tell the tale compared it to fighting living darkness, and once their victims were trapped, the others moved in to help finish it. Afterward, the Shadow Dancers looted the corpses for bright and colourful trinkets to keep after they returned to the Shadowfell. Literally freaking birds. Gloomweavers, formidable as they were, tended to be content to remain hidden, watching as their dark aura weighed on the hearts of their victims, tormenting them with a sense of approaching death. If detected, they used their magic to reduce their foes to ghastly corpses. Soulmongers themselves were full of despair, mourning the loss of memories of a better time. This painful emptiness fueled their weariness-inducing power, manifesting as vigor-draining, unbearable weight. Those who survived the Soulmonger's assault never forget the sound that it made, the moan of a tortured soul, lost in tragedy. Huh. I think we've got the most of what I wanted to kind of learn from this. You go Drow for the race, get the free cast of Darkness and Devil's Sight. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, but somebody did also... Oh, shit, sorry. I'll make sure that didn't mess up the stream. 1 second. Somebody also did suggest Wood Elf, which I am also kind of unsure of. Let's have a look, actually. Let's look at that first. Drow or Elf? We go with Drow, you're going to get Drow weapon training, you're going to get short swords, rapiers, and hand crossbows, which is not going to be relevant because we're going to get any martial weapon that we want. We gain the superior dark vision, which makes sense. We get the Fey ancestry, which makes sense. We gain perception, we gain dancing lights, fairy fire, and darkness. And didn't the Raven Queen also have a thing about the Saladrin as well? Yeah, there you go. There is a... Well, it's not literally that. I know it's not literally the thing, but the name is there. You get my point, right? I mean, it's a Drow... Makes sense to me. So many cool builds, yeah. I agree. Then there's Elf, in which I feel like if you go Wood Elf, you gain proficiency in stealth checks, which also makes sense. And then you also get an increased movement speed. So I think it's between Drow and Wood Elf. Half Elf, maybe? I'm not sure what advantage Half Elf is going to give us, really. Because we're not really... Because, again, the only thing that would change would be the weapon proficiency, and we're not going to need that, right? Surely Gloomstalker gives stealth proficiency? No, it does not by default. When you multiclass into Ranger, I believe Base Ranger gives that, because I think you get 1 free skill proficiency when you multiclass into Ranger. Let me just check. Multiclassing. Multiclass proficiencies with Ranger is light armor, medium armor, shield, super weapons, and 1 skill. So yeah, technically we don't need the stealth proficiency, actually, so maybe Drow is the better choice. Don't say sorry, Julia. Never ever say sorry. So Legend Drow, I do think, lore-wise, I agree. I think that makes the most sense. We go for a Celadrin Drow, and we could pick up stealth proficiency from multiclassing into Ranger. So we're definitely going to start as a Hexblade, and then probably do a 1-level dip into Ranger for the level 1 stuff that we need, and then go from there, right? I think that makes sense. Okay. I think... Now, the only question is now... Since we know we're going to play as a Drow, let me just grab the... Saladrin Drow. Now we just need to figure out the actual level split. Which is always the big thing. I think someone said 7-5, which I think is a good basis to work off of, so... Let's have a look at that first. Ranger... Oh, we were going to read He Who Was. I totally forgot. God damn it, Pastry. Everyone takes the things that I say and then twists them. But yeah, anyways, let's have a look. As a Shadowkai, He Who Was is a servant of the Raven Queen. Yep, this is all stuff that we know, pretty much. The Raven Queen, who is obsessed with collecting memories and essences, blah, 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 since Shadowkai. Is going to serve by ravens. He who was his raven companion is one such bird. Shadowkai are typically as cold and emotionless as their queen, but for an unknown reason, possibly the effects of the Shadow Curse, he who was has become petty and cruel, taking pleasure in tormenting people while gathering their memories. Ambient dialogue between he who was and his raven companion implies that he is no longer following the orders he has been given, which the raven is displeased with. So this guy, in particular, is not doing what he's supposed to do. This guy is fucking up. He's messed up somewhere. He was can be found in a ritual circle using Speak with Dead on a person named Madeline. Yeah. And he comes with Bane, Confusion, Darkness, Fear, and a specific new Shadow Spear weapon attack, which we unfortunately cannot get. There is the Raven Gloves. Why is Instagram sending me messages? There is the Raven Gloves, which would give us Quoth the Raven, but we don't need it because it's not anything explicitly as much of an advantage. Let's kill him and steal his bird. Oh, you crashed? Yeah, we haven't gone that far, don't worry. So are the Shadow Kai lore-wise like neutral or lawful evil or what? Definitely neutral. They lean closer to neutral. This guy's just kind of a dink. I'm not gonna lie. That's just his kind of problem. Yeah, we are building a Shadow Kai kind of inspired build for the Raven Queen. We're going along that route. Because I forget, you guys can't see my tabs up here, can you? No. No, you cannot. I made it so you cannot. But yeah. Yeah, this character would absolutely kill He Who Was 100%. But yeah, let's have a look at Hexblade Warlock. So Hexblade Warlock, we would get Hex Warrior, giving us medium armor shields and martial weapons. Great, pretty much all we would need for this build. We also get the Bind Hex weapon, allowing us to use our Charisma modifier. We also get Hexblade's Curse, allowing us to curse a target. Damage rolls against that target gain a bonus equal to proficiency. The number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. If the target dies, you regain hit points. Literally everything that the Shadow Kai do is pretty much in this class. It's literally built for them. And you bind a Shadow Blade. Yes. I want to say yes, because technically when it is in your hand, it is a weapon. Yes, you can. I did think so, because I remember you could also make a Shadow Blade like a pact weapon for Pact of the Blade. So yes, you can. You can, yeah. So that is potentially an option if we wanted to go down that route for like a Psychic Blade type deal. Entirely up to you guys. We would get Shield, Wrathful Smite, Blur, Branding Smite, Blink, Elemental Weapon, and a Cursed Spectre. Raising a Cursed Spectre from the soul of a fallen cursed target to fight by your side. The size of the fallen creature will determine whether you raise a Feeble Spectre, Mundane Spectre, or Primordial Spectre. Doesn't work with X amount of creatures. And then at level 7, we do get Phantasmal Killer and Staggering Smite, which Phantasmal Killer is something that the Shadow Kai were known to use, as we read here. We also do get the Archfey spell list stuff, which we're not supposed to, so I'm not going to include it in this build for that reason that they might get patched. But yeah. You can have Blade Singer Hexblade as well. Yeah, Staggering Smite's always a fun one for the extra psychic damage. Shadowblade is a bit buggy with weapon effects now, right? Yeah, I think it is having some issues. Give me a second, we can have a look. Because usually... Oh, if I could spell, that would be amazing. Shadowblade, the weapon. Unlike most, Summoner will have innate proficiency with the weapon. While this weapon can be dipped in most cases, it cannot be dipped in fire. This weapon is immune to being disarmed. Here's a fun fact. So Shadowblade was broken to never work. Now, the passive feature gives advantage to all attack rolls instead of just weapon attacks made with the weapon, which I think is kind of funny. Damage bonus from upcasting is lost whenever a condition is removed from the Shadowblade. This can happen when a coding expires or a buff like Elemental Weapon ends. So yeah, this is probably what you were talking about. So if we buff the weapon and that buff ends, then upcasting is lost. But with Bind Hex Weapon, that's not going to happen. Yeah, exactly, Sophie. Like, it's stupid insane. So Shadowblade could definitely be an option for our weapon of choice on this build, especially since Warlock gets it innately. We don't need the ring. That could work. And so like I say, I could definitely see the 7-5 split, because we don't really get much from level 6 of Ranger, if I'm being honest. Because we would get the additional Favored Enemy and Natural Explorer, but if we really feel like we need a second one from that, which I don't feel like we do, because we're going to go for Find Familiar for the Raven, and we're probably going to go Ranger Knight for Heavy Armor proficiency, because I think we decided we might want to use Heavy Armor on this build. For some stuff, like for the Necrotic Resistance, that was the thing. So I don't know. It's definitely up in the air at the moment. Yeah, that's just a tooltip error, Phantom. You might have a mod that's just causing it to try and show a bit of data that's not actually there sometimes. It's just a cosmetic bug. It shouldn't mean much. Yeah, that's true. You can use the ring. If you're not going to upcast it, the only benefit you'd get from taking it on the Warlock spell list would be upcasting it. Bounty Hunter does suit the Scout theme, though. That is kind of true with the proficiency and investigation. But I think we'll be getting that anyway, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Yeah, investigation, yeah. The problem is, are we going to have a high-level intelligence on this build, though? That is the question. I mean, I think I would definitely... Because we want wisdom and charisma, that's the only problem. Not that we're really going to be using many of the spells from Ranger, I don't think. Like, mainly just buffing things. We definitely want passive out trace. We probably want protection from poison, silence as well. And then for the rest of it, like Enhanced Sleep, Long Strider, Speak of Animals, and I guess Hunter's Mark maybe as well? I guess, no, we don't really need a high wisdom with this build, do we? Bounty Hunter plus Cruel Sting. Cruel Sting could be an interesting weapon for this build, actually, now that you've said that. But yeah, but if we go with this, we're going to get Disguise Self, the Umbral Shroud, Superior Dark Vision, Dread Ambusher, which obviously makes sense, and then Misty Step, which also makes sense. So yeah, I think the level split of 7-5 probably going to make the most sense, right? Dex Charisma, yeah. 12 Wiz will probably work. Yeah, we don't need a lot of Wiz. We're just using buffing spells with the Ranger side of things. Some Patron ideas, the Emperor and Orpheus. Definitely cool ideas. We'll have to see. Sorrow as a weapon for bonus action Thorn Whiff. As a spiked chain they use to drag people away. Ooh. Yeah. 7-5, you also get attacks or free attacks with Pact of the Blade. Yeah, and non-honor mode runs, yes you do, which would obviously give this build a lot to work with. For sure. Looking forward to the build. Yeah, thanks for coming, Isra. Glad to have you here. We'll love to see a Demogorgon patron. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I said, when we actually have time to build those things, we absolutely will. The only Ranger spells that actually use Wisdom are from level 3. You like Sorrow as well? Actually, yeah. I like Sorrow too. As a Hexblade weapon, that seems like a cool idea. Yeah, Sorrowful Lash for the bonus action Thorn Whip. And, okay, so Sorrowful Lash is weird. Has anybody actually looked at this in depth? It's got a lot of weird notes. Because this is the only cantrip in the game whose damage innately scales with your spellcasting modifier. So this version of Thorn Whip will scale with our... but there's the ticket. We'd have to start as Ranger maybe instead of... and then multi-class into Warlock after. Which is fine. That doesn't actually change anything. It doesn't really matter what class we start with here, right? So if we multi-class into Warlock, making it so that this uses our Charisma modifier, that should work. Sorrow actually has lore ties as it was originally used to kill Isabel Thorm. Yes! I forgot about. In which case that makes sense for this character to pick up this weapon because it's filled with a sorrowful memory. Fuck yeah, we're using Sorrow. This is the weapon for the build. No question. And I think the level split of 7-5 also makes sense. So Hexblade, Warlock, 7? And it also ties into the Soulmonger thing, because they're all about being sorrowful and miserable all the time. Yep. Okay. Whip BA, then hit extra hard. I don't think I've seen Sorrow in any build ever. I've used it before. I've used it in my Castlevania-inspired Trevor Belmont build. Because it was the only real way to get a whip as a weapon. It can come and take Sorrow back home to the Raven Queen. Exactly, David. Also, the Ring of Arcane Synergy would really work well with this build. You're right, Jeremy. Absolutely. 100%. Oh, gosh. I love it when a plan comes together. Is there a ranged weapon we can slap on this as well that might help with the build? Oh, you didn't watch that one? It's okay. Nobody did. Honestly, like, I'll be 100% real with you guys. Before Patch 8 released, the channel was, like, at its lowest point in terms of, like, view count and such like that. It's only because of Patch 8 that it's gone back up to, like, basically what the channel was, like, at its peak. But there was definitely a downturn before Patch 8, so that's why nobody has seen a lot of my more recent builds, because they just weren't getting pushed that much. Nowadays, that's obviously changed. But, yeah, no, so if you haven't seen some of my more recent videos, I'm not surprised, because they just weren't popular. Which is fine, it just makes sense. It's just how the algorithm works when things are falling out of trend. Bow of the Banshee, maybe? Maybe. Deadshot works. Short bows. Thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that. I love the fact that this bow exists, because it's literally just a bow that's fueled by the power of racism. I think we made a joke about that a few times on stream. Yeah, you can slap Darkfire on anything though, really. Somebody said Banshee. But I don't know. You've never seen the racist bow? Yeah. The Lightbringer. It's available in kind of like Act 3 from Dimphelians, that's why most people haven't seen it. But yeah, attacking gnomes or dwarves gives you additional attack and damage rolls. And it also slows creatures on a crit. Yeah, the Horseman build got it, yeah. One of the Horseman builds has the racism bow. That's just what I call it. More like short fella. Yeah. While obscured in shadow, the wielder has a plus 1d4 bonus to ranged weapon attacks. Weave the lost magic of the children of the Deep Dweller into your shot and possibly blind your target. That actually feels like... One of the released Deep Dweller's rebellious children was a tremendous surprise to all of them. The quiet, happy, weepy daughter master took up the bow and fired. The arrow flashed, and while Dweller now blinded, caught well temporarily, the children escaped into an uncertain yet sweetly free future. That feels like something the Raven Queen would want to pick up. And blinding your target is something that's relevant to the Raven Queen's ability set as well, because ravens have the rend vision thing that's meant to blind people. I actually think the least expected fits the build. You miss this chaotic energy. You reckon you'd go with the dead shot? I don't know, I'm kind of liking least expected actually now, but what was the other one that was suggested? What was the other one that we was talking about? Sorry. Yeah, so there's the dead shot. There's also someone else mentioned a different one. I'm gonna go back up for chat. I don't know. I kind of like the least expected as a potential option, so I think I'll go with that. Just because I can't seem to find the comment that was the other thing I was looking at. Is the Thorn family I think it's mostly a BG3 thing. Like, if you go into the Forgotten Realms wiki, you'll find them because stuff from BG3 kind of got added. Oh, Darkfire Shortbow was the other. Yeah, no, I kind of like the least expected though. I think it makes a lot of sense. Giant Breaker? Oh, I know the one you're talking about because that's a crossbow. That's why I wasn't sure. If I could spell. There we go. Yeah, this can send people reeling, but I really like the least expected, I'll be honest. Oh, Bow of the Banshee was another one, yeah, which could possibly amount... I don't know, I'm not really playing into the fear aspect that much with this one, I don't think. I kind of like the least expected fitting into the theme of, like, the Crow's actual mechanical ability set, and it's related to, like, a significant moment which the Raven Queen would like to have as part of her, like, horde, I guess. We could use the Ballless Gloves for Garrote. Oh, maybe. I think least expected is pretty good. I think we got that one in one, personally. Right, Sorrow and least expected. Right. The armor. I mean, you're probably going to have to buff Sorrow with the Drakethroat Glaive as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of extra oomph. But otherwise, I do think it works quite well. Right, the armor. Is there a specific armor we are immediately thinking would work? I know we're going to obviously use the Corvid token. That is literally a flat-out requirement for the build. I'm going to put that into the document. Doesn't Sorrow use Strength? Yeah, but not with our Charisma from Hexblade. It will use our Charisma. Does Magic Weapon stack with Draconic? Yes, it does. The Magic Weapon effect does stack with the Draconic Elemental Weapon. It's Elemental Weapon itself that doesn't. But yes, it does. JP, you've just inspired me to do a Wizard mixed with Swarmkeeper Spelling Bee. April Fool's 2026. Yes, Hexblade also gets Elemental Weapon. That is true. Unfortunately, with the amount of spell slots that we're going to have, we're probably not going to be able to upcast it, though. That might still be worth just using the Drake Frick Glaive overall. Please. The spelling bee verbal contract is binding. Hang on, I'll stick it in a document somewhere so I don't forget. There's the Karlach build. The Man and His Dogs build. Oh! I forgot I have this build ready to go as well. I won't be spoiling exactly what that one is, but it is one that people have been requesting. Let's make a new section of the document. The spelling bee. You know what? That might have to be like a bonus video that comes out like on an off day where I wouldn't normally upload or something. So I feel like that one's going to just be a kind of a full fun one. One keeper wizard. See you later, Dark. Thanks for coming. Glad to have you here. Right. Anyways, back on task. Armor time! Definitely going to be using armor on this build. We're not going to faff around with the armor clothing debate this time around. Headwear, cloak, handwear, footwear, amulet, rings. Armor. Let's see what we got. So, obviously, the big one I thought about right at the beginning when I saw necrotic damage resistance on the Shadar-kai was this one, the protective plate, which is heavy armor that gives just straight up resistance to necrotic damage, and comes with a base 18 AC, which is pretty damn good. However, knowing that the Shadar-kai are more likely to use light armor, I'm not sure how accurate it really is. Like, basically, we're sacrificing all of this, like, kind of iconography here. You can kind of see in this image for necrotic resistance. So I'm half tempted to stick with light armor instead, but I think the protective plate is an option for those who want to go down that route. Opa's random document of February 2026. Why is the spelling bee written here in all caps? You guys. Oh, yeah, that's true. It does give disadvantage. Oh, no, it does not give disadvantage on stealth checks. Yeah, this is another special property of this armor, is that it does not give disadvantage on stealth checks despite being heavy armor. So it has two unique properties to it, which is what makes me think it works. I don't know. We'll see. Shadeklinger, Unwanted, maybe. Kind of looks Raveny. Let's see. What do we want? I mean, obviously there's the Drow armors, which all work. Spider Silk would give us advantage on con saves. If we wanted to nick that off from Imthara at some point. I mean, obviously the Ballist armor does increase the damage of the Thorn Whip from Sorrow, actually, which I find kind of funny. Elegant Studded Leather would give you advantage on stealth checks and all the usual gaff, but honestly, it always just seems pretty like the standard choice. I like to try and mix it up a little bit. Harold is a good crossbow for a spellcaster because it reduces the saving throw by applying Bane. Yeah, that is actually true. It's a good thing if you can mix it in, you should. I don't know. I mean, honestly, none of these light armor options are really jumping out to me. I mean, Shadeklinger, yeah, I can kind of see it for the advantage on saving throws while in the darkness. I do see that. And it does look pretty nice. Yeah, no, it is a really good suggestion, Bagaskara. You are correct. And it is also the medium armor. Technically, the Elven Chain would also fit this build quite well as well. It's just our AC is really going to suffer for it if we do go down that route. I could also see something like the Sharpened Snare Cuirass as well, if we do go down the route of using something like Ensnaring Strike, and the Cruel Sting, which I know was suggested. Allowing us to deal additional poison damage because we are a drow, giving us the Ensnaring Strands feature. Get it in Act 2. Yeah, that is true, Ben, actually. I should actually have a look into using the Elven Chain in the Blade Singer build. I think it's quite thematically appropriate. What does medium armor master do in vanilla again? If I remember, it basically increases the dexterity cap. If you wear medium armor, it doesn't impose disadvantage on stealth checks, and the bonus to armor class you gain from your dexterity modifier becomes +3 instead of +2. Overall, considering the medium armor options that come in the game that basically have this already, it's a pretty minor effect. Overall. But for some reason, yeah, this is a funny bug. The AC bonus increase is also gained from Magic Initiative Cleric, and this has never been fixed. This feat has an unlisted effect that the maximum AC bonus from Dexterity while wearing medium armor is increased to +3. However, similar to the medium armor Aster feat as well, it also breaks the exotic material feature that comes with medium armors. Yeah, it's broken in a way. Yeah, it's quite mid. Yeah, exactly. The unwanted masterwork might go visually. Let's have a look. I've lost my armor page. Where's my armor page gone? Right, here we are. Unwanted masterwork going down to heavy. Because it does look like a lighter armor. Oh, no, it's on medium. Sorry, my bad. Why did I think it was heavy armor? Yeah, the unwanted masterwork. This would give you protection against fire damage, add your full dexterity modifier. But again, though, I don't know how high our dexterity is going to go overall. Maybe we'll go to like 16 dex, just start, and it'll probably just stay there because we're going to be putting all our points into charisma mostly. It kind of looks like it got feathers. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can kind of see it. Clerics and their cheating ways. Yeah, exactly. I was wondering why you randomly had that effect on your druid. Yep, that's why. I mean, I can see it. Coming down here and looking at the... I mean, it does kind of... I kind of like the look of it, actually. 19 AC is also decent. That is true. If you go with the 16 dexterity, yeah, you'd come out of this with a 19 AC, which is still really good. And I do kind of like the feather motif on the armor. Like, it still kind of looks like a light armor despite being medium. Potent robes to increase the whip damage. That is also an option, yes. I'll be honest, yeah, I kind of like this too. I agree. With some black dye? Oh, with the black dye, it probably would look pretty good. Yeah, hang on. I'm going to slap this in. It's a late game option, though, so I'll need something for the early game. You could get the defense fighting style from Ranger and also get it to a 20 AC. That is also true, yes. Shade Clinger gets your vote because you think it looks kind of drippy. Let's have a look. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I like the look of the Shade Clinger as well. Honestly, that could be an option just in general anyway. Yeah, with advantage on saving throws while obscured. I think it does look cool. I would say it could be either or. I'm going to include this on the list of potential options as well. Because you know me, I always like to include various options. But then, yeah, for the early game... I would say the protective plate still works overall, but honestly, just getting resistance to necrotic damage is not a huge deal. Where do you get the unwanted scale? If you're talking about the unwanted mail, that's from Damon in Act 3. This one you get from Last Light in Act 2. So technically this could also be a slightly earlier game option as well. But Umbral Armor for Act 2. Well, you actually, the Shade Clinger armor's Act 2, so that works. Hang on. Shade Clinger grants the Clinging Shadows condition, which is not removed when taking off the armor. This can be exploited to get the addition applied to the entire party, and having each character equip and remove the armor one by one. Wait, I never knew that. That's hilarious, so we might as well just pick up this armor anyway and get the buff. Huh. Are you sure? Why not? Free advantage on all saving throws? Just for standing in, like, just being slightly obscured? If the armor is unwanted, why does it cost so much? Apparently, I will double check that in my testing. But otherwise... Oh, fuck it, the Spider Silk armor in Act 1 works. The Spider Silk armor in Act 1 works. Yeah, that's just an easy early game option just to get us moving on. It actually doesn't even require you to be obscured. You just get the buff, you gain permanent advantage. Damn, that's just broken. Right, so here's the thing with the headwear. The Shadow Kai was specifically said to... Oh, did I close the Shadow Kai page? Whoops. Shadow... Oh, damn it. Go back here. There we go. Just click a link. Yeah, these guys were known for wearing masks, right? Yeah, they often wore masks of wood or metal to conceal their faces, so I feel like we need a mask of some kind. Yeah, Micah, I actually agree with that thing as well. It kind of does look a bit strange. Well, here's the thing, like we say, Bone Spike Helmet or Mask of Soul Perception. Well, I'm just thinking, like, we're probably not going to go with the Devil Foil Mask, because fucking... Look at this thing. It's terrifying. I used it in the build once. I know there's the wooden masks in Ethel's basement. Like, technically... That would probably be a bit dangerous. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth. Ethel's mask does look cool. Let's see what else we got available to us. Caparaf. It's technically a mask. Bone Spike Helmet's also a mask, would give us the ability to use menacing attack. Circlet of Hunting makes sense from a lore perspective. Horns of the Berserker giving us necrotic damage could also make sense, but it's not really a mask, unfortunately. Mask of Soul Perception. Some cool artwork, actually. Holy shit, I like that. That actually makes this helmet look not fucking goofy. The Justicia helmet is also a mask. That is true. Shadow of Menzo Baranzan. Oh, yeah, we could go for like a hooded look with the covert cowl or the shadow. I actually think the covert cowl would work pretty damn well. Because we get the critical hit reduction to stack with Hexblade while obscured. Helmet of Arcane Acuity could also work. I actually think the covert cowl makes sense. Do Alpheus still clip with that one? Probably. Doesn't look like they're clipping in this picture of Astarion, though. I don't know, what are we thinking? Covert cowl? I think that makes sense. I'm going to put it in as an option, at least. Looks a bit feathery, too. Yeah, actually! You say that! Oh, but hang on, actually. Thinking about it, though. One second. Is it not gonna look kind of awkward to have a hood and then the exposed shoulders? Is it not gonna look kind of weird? I just thought that. It might. I'll have to see how it looks in-game. You can hide it, yeah, but the whole point's to have it there because, you know, the Shadow Kai cover their faces. That's like part of the whole point. I'm gonna have it there as the option, and I will see how we go. This year's mask could also work. Gives us less overall mechanical benefit, but it is a mask. We combine it with a same color cloak and it would look better. True, Sophie. Very true, actually. Yeah, but Justicia helm would do the same thing. It would look kind of strange. But I think with the cloak idea is a good idea, actually. I'll have a look at cloaks in a minute. Mask of the Shapeshifter for the best looking option. Oh, do you want to see the even better looking option? We could go for the Grimskull helm. Look at the absolute majesty of this helm. Are we going to Fashion Souls now? God, don't get me started on Fashion Souls. Like, have you guys seen my Elden Ring streams with Red over on her channel? When you're talking about Fashion Souls, like, I went in depth on that one. And there's also a Dark Justicia helmet. I don't know, I'm not going to linger on this one for too long, because I do think the Covert Cowl is literally perfect. And I think with a cloak, I think it can work. Let's have a look at the cloak options. I mean, if we play a Dark Urge, Deathstalker Mantle, the Shade Slayer Cloak, Cloak of Protection if we want more AC, I guess. Cunning Broom and Deathstalker? Yeah, I agree. I don't know about Cunning Broom so much, just from a look perspective, because all the stars... Well, I don't know, maybe the stars actually might not be too bad. Where it disengages, they also create a foggy cloud. Actually, mechanically? Oh, that makes sense. Because again, it's like creating the Clouds of Darkness thing as well. Just being able to do it with a disengage. It's a shame we wouldn't be able to disengage as a bonus action, though, because we're not a rogue. Otherwise, that would be very lucrative. Displacement 2, yeah. What's my go-to Elden Ring build? I don't have one. No, that's a lie. My build that I used... I've got two builds that I like to use. One is a Dark Moon Greatsword build that is focused on using the charge attacks and all that. The other one is I like to play a faith-based spell sword using an enchanted broadsword to use faith for the scaling, and then go all into faith and use all the elemental spells like an elemental spell sword. It's really fun. Unless you had 3 levels for Assassin. It's worth it. How did I know you would use the Dark Moon Greatsword? Because I like the Dark Moon Greatsword. I think Deathstalker for the invisibility would work if you go down the Dark Urge route. Oh, hello. There's a bug involving this item with the Illithid Power Call of the Week. If the equipping character has the passive feature, the effect won't activate. Oh, yeah, I didn't know about that one, actually. And the Shade Slayer Cloak, obviously, for more crit stacking while hiding. Actually, the in-game... Ooh, it doesn't look like the tooltip. It looks a bit more this. Oh, look, if you go for like the ocean dye or something, it goes like that kind of darker color. Ooh, yeah. I think the Shade Slayer Cloak or the Deathstalker Mantle, just depending on if you're playing a Dark Urge or not. I think that makes sense. Sorry, I looked away from chat for a second. I'm just going to pop these in as potential options. Also, Ranni Stars Druid build? Maybe. Maybe. Although she's got less stuff to do with stars. It's more the moon. Like, in terms of her actual ability set and, like, frost magic. So, maybe. Check out the Cape of the Red Prince for the early game. Oh, yeah. If you have the deluxe edition, right? Go Black or Furnace Red or Harlequin Black and White, yeah. Oh, probably the Harlequin Black and White for, like, the whole set. Go for, like, a neutral, kind of grayish, blackish, whitish kind of look. Absolutely. You run full Battle Mage of all the Glint Blade sorceries? Hey, nice. That is a cool thing. Stop beating my mic? Did I punch my mic? Whoops. My apologies. I didn't even feel it that time. Anyways. The gloves. I mean, I know people were talking about the Raven gloves, but we really don't need it because it's just not... It just doesn't do anything for the build since we already have Find Familiar. There's not really a point to it, unfortunately, but we're definitely still going to kill He Who Was in a playthrough like this. Jet and Pink is also interesting. Okay, you say but Quoth, but in fact, actually, if you summon any Raven and Find Familiar, they're also called Quoth, so... Ballless gloves? Yeah, I know somebody suggested that for the Garrote feature, allowing us to, you know, grapple people and such like that, silencing them. I could see it, but I don't know if we'd want to get too far into the balls stuff with this build. Or at least you heard some strange sounds. It could be my chair squeaking. My chair tends to squeak. Or you know what I probably did, Ilya? I probably bumped the underside of my desk with my foot. That's probably what I did. Sorry about that. I tell you, in fact, actually, hang on. Yeah, that definitely just made the same noise, I think. I'm not sure. Abyss Beckoners for the Ravens. Ah. See where you're going with that? I do. This is a pain in the ass. Maybe. I don't know. I think we've... Like, I don't think this... I didn't really make so much of a list for this one. We kind of... It's just really easy to naturally incorporate everything we want into the build. I don't think there's anything we're missing. We're just looking to see what works. Which page... Hi, I don't know how to shorten that name, because I don't want to call you stupid, because that sounds awful. So, Nameless, I'm going to call you. Hi, Nameless. What patron are we building? We are building, the Raven Queen. And we're nearly finished, I would say. I'm not going to do that for you, mate. I'm not calling you stupid because you don't deserve that. I'll call you Nameless. I'm going to call you Nameless because I think that makes sense. Hi, welcome to the stream. Goodness me. There's definitely an energy to these streams that I never expect to happen, but yet always still happens. Let's have a look. What can we put for the gloves? Pastry, come on. Okay, but that's his name. I guess I could call him Pal. Oh, nothing's been said about that. Oh, fair enough. Okay, let's see. I won't tell me. Oh, what? This chat always descends into madness, I swear. Right, what are we looking at in terms of handwear for this one? There's not really anything too specific, is there? Yes! The gloves of baneful striking! Oh, you're a genius! Holy shit. Holy shit, how did I not think of that? Yep, whenever you deal damage with a weapon attack, the target receives a negative 1d4 penalty to its saving throw. It's either the gloves of baneful striking or the gloves of power that kind of do the same thing. The passive applies Bane and thus does not... So this would actually be what gives Bane as a whole. The gloves of baneful striking kind of do a weird version that technically isn't Bane, although Baneful Strike does apply a penalty to all saving throws, not just the wearer's next spell, which is a bug. So it's either the gloves of Baneful Striking or the gloves of power, which I guess with the bug, technically this is just the superior option, right? Power gloves need the absolute brand. Actually, no. Oh, no. Absolute Banes requires the equipping... Oh, it does need the brand of Absolute. I thought it said it didn't. I thought that was a bug. Whoops. And would we take the Absolute brand with this build? Probably not, right? See, I guess the gloves of Baneful Striking with the bug does make sense. I mean, I'll just put both. Because I guess, yeah, getting the Absolute's brand, if you're doing it to infiltrate the Absolute, isn't a huge deal. I mean, yeah, so I'm just going to put both on there and just let people decide. I think they both kind of achieve the same goal. So yeah, good call for those gloves. Absolutely. Can't believe I didn't think of it. It's because my brain is starting to go to mush. I'll tell you why. That's why it is. But anyways, for the boots, I mean, one thing that I can immediately think of. Oh, but even I'm tired of using them. Let's see what else we got. Ah, see, this didn't require us to go down the evil route. I'd go for this, because literally it's the Shadow Kai Shadow Teleportation on some boots. It makes sense. Oh. The boots are very fast blinking. Not again. Please. I'm not strong enough. Bane Camp. Boots of Striding? Maybe. What are we maintaining concentration on with this build, though? Hunter's Mark. True. That is true. That is true. And Ensnaring Strike. Also true. Hex, Darkness. Okay, yeah, no, never mind. I'm an idiot. Yep, Boots of Striding makes the most sense. Yeah. You guys are correct. Again, I think I'm getting to the point now when my brain is starting to go into shutdown mode. So once we finish this equipment, I think that will be about on time for stream to end anyway, so... Right. Amulets, we already have the Corvette token, so we don't need to look at that. Just memory dead. Okay, here we go. Finally, the rings. We did decide on the Ring of Arcane Synergy, because it does synergize with the Fawn Whip from Sorrow, so we do want that. That is one of our rings that we absolutely want to grab. Especially since we're going to start with Ranger and then dip into Hexblade next to make it so it synergizes with our Charisma. That's the whole point. Hi, Squirrel. We are on to the Raven Queen build, which we are just about to wrap up. Recommend drinking. Please tell. You're talking about water, right? 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 Shifting Corpus Ring. Ooh, maybe. Because that would give us access to Blur and Invisibility. Maybe. Certainly an option. Yeah, only water. Sometimes juice. Invisibility. A shiny, deceptively simple band designed to look like those worn by Battlefield Scouts and City Pop Picks. So, like, why? Because it's shiny? Are we taking it because it's shiny and because we're a bird? No, we don't. We don't use the gloves because we don't need them. Orange juice or apple juice? This is important information. 1 second. Let's just decide this now. Okay, there's also the Ring of Twilight. That can work. There's also the Strange Conduit Ring, I think someone suggested, which, yes, would make sense. Honestly, I think all three work. I might just say choose. Boom. Boom. Alright, the reason I'm kind of doing this now is because I think a great way to end out the stream, since this has now been said. 1 second. That's why I do love to do these on our streams. Here we go. Here we go. Just to end out the stream with a poll, because we do tend to do polls a lot on these streams. Alright, you guys ready? This is important. Oh, I've accidentally pinned your message. Sorry, Eclipse, I didn't mean to air you out for everyone to see. There you go, guys. Let's end it on a high note. I don't know what the fuck Orpal is. I'm not adding Orpal. Here we go. Apple or orange? Here we go. The most important poll in the channel's history. Apple or orange juice? Let's go. Come on, guys. To end out the stream with a bang. Sorry, let me just close some tabs here. So far, orange has pulled into the lead with 12 votes. 13. You were here. Rated by just taste? I don't know. Like, it's just a general personal preference, I guess. If I was to cast my vote personally... Okay, so here's the thing. I feel like I like the taste of apple juice a little bit more than orange, but I find that orange juice is really, really good if I have, like, a sore throat or something. Like, if I go have a glass of orange juice, if, like, I've got, like, a sore throat, it genuinely helps me, and I don't know why. If orange has pulp, apple. If no pulp, then orange. Yes, pulp is also a huge thing. Like, holy shit. You voted for the fruit. Well, I suppose it's also the fruit too, but I mean, the poll's name is Juice. But anyways, it looks like... Oh, no, hang on, Apple just got another vote. Tell you what, hang on, what time is it? Right, 4 minutes. 4 minutes until I plan to end stream. I will give this a little bit more time. If in the USA, orange juice tastes amazing, but not so much in the UK. True. I did notice that when I originally lived in Canada, obviously there's a lot more added sugar and preservatives in North American stuff. So when I was living in Canada, it was obviously had a much stronger taste to it. Over here, it's not so much. Like in Canada, the biggest thing with apple juice is when you drank apple juice in North America, it was like this like kind of brownish clear color. Whereas here, it's like a foggy, like, almost, it's the same color as, like, the inside of an apple. It's like that, but like a foggy glass of, like, that sort of color. You can kind of see the difference immediately with how much crap is put into the American stuff. What are you saying, little OJ? It's amazing. Okay, here's the thing, right? I don't do any of my shopping at Lidl. I'm a Tesco Asda person. But, like, I never really go to Lidl, because the only Lidl near where I live is kind of small compared to the other shops, unfortunately, so it doesn't really have everything I need. But every time I speak to someone who shops at Lidl, they're like, dude, like, not, like, all the stuff there is, like, just better. Like, I know somebody talks about the juice, but also, like, I think it's, like, isn't it the baked goods section in Lidl that's also supposed to be really, really good? Begun, the juice war has. Do you like Ribena? I've had Ribena like a total of 3 times in my life, and every time I really liked it, and then just never drank it like again for like another year or 2. Sainsbury's? I don't have a Sainsbury's near me. There's like the nearest Sainsbury's to me is so far away. Even then, I find it to be ridiculously expensive. You work at Tesco, Steve? I didn't know that. When I was, like, a kid, my mum used to work at Tesco as well, and she loved it for some reason. I think back then it was a bit different, though. You could actually, like, live on your wage at Tesco back then. Little bakery. Yeah, no. One time when I was at work, someone, like, the management, like, they surprised us with, like, a kind of, like, a thing at lunch with, like, they just bought, like, a bunch of stuff from, like, the little bakery, and it was friggin' amazing. I'm not even kidding. But anyways... I do believe that now that it has reached about 4 o'clock... Oh, you do people shopping? Oh, you're one of those. I know what you mean. You're like the delivery cart like filler. I know what you mean. You're Australian. We have a supermarket duopoly. Tesco petrol station. No. It's not a debate between orange juice or apple juice. Gasoline clears them both. But right, with it now being about 4 PM, which is where I was going to end the stream anyway, we will leave it on orange juice taking the vote by a grand total of 3 votes. But thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute blast returning to streams like these. So like I say, the Patron build series is going to be similar to the deity build series. It's going to be a returning Friday series. So I imagine if we average about 2 builds per stream like we did today, but hopefully future builds will be less complicated than Vecna was, because holy shit. Then maybe we can eke out a bit more. So I will say that it probably won't be a live stream next weekend, not another build stream. If I have time, I might do like a normal stream. I don't know yet. We'll see. I've been meaning to try and do just regular streams again. I've just not really gotten around to it. So there probably won't be another build stream next weekend, but the weekend after, we will return to the Patron build series, and we'll build a couple of more. So feel free to head over to the Discord and let me know what other patrons you think could be interesting to build off. I know someone suggested Demogorgon, which I am interested in, but I do think, for now, it's time for the stream to end. Yeah, no, it depends. If I've got some time next week and I'm not absolutely shattered from work, I do think next weekend is a long weekend, actually, so I could technically still have a day's rest if I streamed on one of the days. I don't know, we'll see. I do want to stream some stuff more, because I know we got to get back to the Alien Isolation streams at some point. Just keep forgetting to do it. But anyways, yeah, I think that is going to be the end of the stream for now. Thank you all so much for coming out. The stream was a great success. I love doing stuff like this. It's always a fun time. I will see you all next time. Goodbye. Oh, what button do I even press to end it? Just forget. There we go.